Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live production of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network here tonight on the Tuesday night, May 30th here, coming to the end of the month of May here, of course. This is a little different than what you would usually see out of most live productions here in the network, at least for this year that we've gone through so far, as we are currently underway with the 2023 Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series season. But tonight's a little bit different. It's an off week for the NASCAR Series, as we're actually beginning a new season of our special events league, which is the 2 Hours of Daytona with the GT3 cars. It'll be a 2-hour timed race here. It'll go from day to night, so we're excited to experiment here from transitioning from NASCAR to doing a week of maybe a little bit more road racing stuff here. So my name is Regan McCauley here, your main play-by-play and broadcaster guy up here in the commentary booth. Alongside me, color commentator here since the very beginning of the network. On the other side of the country, I'm from Charlottetown. He's in Alberta. So Jordy, welcome on board here for the first event of the Special Events League. What are your overall thoughts here at the Daytona Road Course?
Okay, first of all, I love the fact that we're doing something different here. And I think the fact that, again, we made the move to the iRacing platform is ultimately what made this possible. Obviously, there was a little bit of kind of different stuff going on with our brief foray into Project Cars with the IndyCar series. But to remain on kind of a consistent platform here, again, it presents a new challenge. You've already alluded to the fact that we will get kind of changing day conditions. As a matter of fact, they are driving in the evening right now, I do believe, at least by the looks of things. Yeah, it's just a completely different challenge, something that, you know, we've been looking forward to here for a little bit. And yeah, hopefully it kind of maybe opens the door for us to do something different and maybe expand a little bit into the future. But this is a great test, as a matter of fact, ground for that, so to speak.
For sure. All very good points right there, of course. But yeah, this kind of special events league is sort of a good pathway here for those who may take a look and may want to get involved in the network somehow, especially if it doesn't if it's not NASCAR related. We've had many different ideas with these special events from, of course, the Daytona road course stuff here at the GT3 cars. We've also thought about different cars such as sprint cars and late models as well. So we're just kind of venturing out into other things other than what we've originally done in our history with NASCAR, Formula One, and IndyCar. And judging by the ticker right now, we are about to head into the group qualifying session, which will take 10 minutes here. The clock is now winding down. Now we're back to daytime right here, so I guess you could call it, maybe it was a evening practice the day before or so. And judging by the field of cars that we have here, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars in attendance for this one. And as we are approaching 9 minutes remaining here, and cars are going onto the track right here, some of the notable names in here include several drivers that have been here since the very beginning, including Corbin McCauley and Jason Butler. Got some guys that are well known for their road course resumes, including Jared Ireland and Andy Hurdle. Ireland is this year a rookie for the Season 4 NASCAR Series in Season 4. Also got other veterans in Ryan Gibson, Scott Bailey. And there's Michael Wolford, Dylan Baum, another rookie in the NASCAR Series. And also, that would be, I believe the name is Michael Langley. Jordy, would you recognize that name by any chance?
So he is a familiar name, but this will be his debut within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network side of things. Very much a supporter of the NBR folks. So you throw guys like Scott Bailey, Michael Wolford, Matthew Paytak into that equation. So yeah, Michael's been a follower of the series pretty well since the early days of Season 1. But yeah, good to see a new face actually jumping on the track here.
And that's definitely something we want to promote, like I said earlier, trying to get a pathway for new drivers to come in and to take an opportunity to have some fun with us here in the Canadian Motorsports Network. So he would be the only, I guess, quote-unquote new face that we would see in this field. And judging by the field that we have here, I managed just before we got into the broadcast here write down a bunch of statistics from probably should have unmuted iRacing there a while ago. I forgot to do that one. But as I get back to these statistics here, some of these drivers in here, of course, as I mentioned earlier, do have several resumes here within our leagues, particularly with F1 IndyCar when you want to look on the open wheel or the road racing side, or in NASCAR whenever we do get on the road courses. As you can see right there from behind, Corbin McCauley taking a spin there in the first turn. He's able to get it back going in his number 17. I believe that would be a Porsche.
Yeah, it'd probably be worth going over the cars that are available here to the drivers this evening. Let me just see if I can find that particular list, unless you've got it there.
I do indeed have the list. Do we just go off the car names, or do we actually have to say the full names?
Hey, go with what you're comfortable with there, my friend.
All right. So we got the Ferrari 488 GT3 EVO 2020. We got the Mercedes AMG GT3 2020. The Porsche 911 GT3 Cup 992. The Audi R8 LMS GT3. The McLaren FP4 12C GT3. We got a Lamborghini Huracan. I hope that's correct what I just said there, the GT3 EVO. And we got the BMW M4 GT3. So again, that's the Ferrari, Mercedes AMG, Porsche, Audi, McLaren, Lamborghini, and BMW. So that's your car list. If you want to know what these drivers will be running in here on the Daytona Road Course here tonight as we are approaching the halfway point of this group qualifying session.
And nice to have all that variance in the kind of different cars as well. Obviously, you know, kind of minor changes in specs from one to the next, but obviously within the same class, certainly, you know, should expect similar levels of performance. And again, very different feel to, you know, your stock cars or your open wheel. So again, another different challenge here tonight. And again, being able to experiment like you were alluding to earlier, that's sort of the appeal of this special events league, especially.
Very much so, and I believe in the comments section we have a very familiar face here. I assume GTRL.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, the CD Magram, would it be?
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir. CD Magram, the reigning Rookie of the Year in the NASCAR Series, sophomore here in Season 4, came very close to victory at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the new Super Speedway layout last week, coming right to the white flag, and then shenanigans happened, and his car went for a little, I shouldn't say a little bit of a ride, but that's certainly one way to describe it.
Indeed. So, we briefly talked about that a little bit afterwards, and yeah, he said that he called it, quote, quite the spectacle. Wish we were going back there at some point during this season, but it is just the one round in Atlanta on the NASCAR side of things. And yeah, we certainly talked about some other references to Atlanta that may have been made over the course of the evening, but certainly, you know, interesting to have the hometown component there for the man formerly known as Leo Jameson, now known as CD Magram within the NASCAR series.
Yes, sir. And now very quickly looking at these qualifying results here thus far. The number 88 is Scott Bailey with the fastest lap so far out of 4 drivers, I believe, the laps. At least 4 that's counted here so far. And if we want to talk about Scott Bailey, his road course experience particularly comes from the NASCAR series, where he's won on the Charlotte road course twice. He's won at Sonoma and Watkins Glen once each. He won 2 races in 2020 and then 2 in 2021. And now Jared Ireland
didn't drive in 22.
Yeah, that is correct right there. And then you got Jared Ireland right here, who we've seen. He got into the Canadian Motorsports Network last year in the F1 All-Star Series and also the IndyCar Series on Project Cars 2. In the F1 All-Star Series, he finished 5th in the standings. He scored 1 podium and 3 fastest laps in a Haas car. And he's in the grass right now. That's definitely not something you want to do during the race, especially with only 9 cars here participating. You'll want to try and stay up front as much as possible. But going back to these statistics, of course, only made 2 starts in IndyCar, but in one of those starts, he in fact won the Indy 250. Not a road course, but we'll point that out anyways.
Yeah, indeed. And I think if I recall, he was in position to maybe, well, I know he was at the head of the field for the other one that he was involved in, but I believe, if memory serves, he ran out of fuel before he could get back to the pit lane on that particular lap. So he
Oh,
wound up being
jeez.
out.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
That's rather unfortunate to hear right there. Considering I'm not getting any information on what cars these drivers are specifically driving, even though you can kind of try and recognize them by the looks, I probably should have wrote them down here before I started the broadcast here.
So Andy Hurdle, I believe, is in the Ferrari because I saw the paint scheme from earlier.
All right,
He was talking about that.
Get those written down, and by the looks of it, Jared Ireland's running in a Mercedes. I can recognize that one for sure.
I was going to say, do our friends at Track Cams have any front angles to be able to identify them a little bit better as we go on?
Well, there's the rear chase cam for you.
Yeah, that'll do it.
We can see Corbin McCauley driving the Porsche. It literally says it right there on the windshield.
Yeah, kind of hard to miss that. I was going to say, based on the color scheme alone, that had to be Jason Butler we were looking at.
That indeed is Jason Butler. Boom, you can just put
Oh
on
yeah,
the driver
there's the 10.
info.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put the driver info tab on right there. You can literally see it there on the right front, number 10. And, of course, let me go back to my sponsors right here. Yes, we got Kyle's Fried Chicken Art right there, I believe. I believe they are technically the sponsor of this. They will be offering a $50 payout to the winner of this race.
In iRacing credits, I believe.
All right, good to know there, the specifics there. And as this qualifying session is winding down, it looks as though Scott Bailey remains with the fastest lap of a... Yeah, I'm trying to see this here, actually. I believe it's 4. Bailey is over Baum right now by about 4 1,000ths of a second.
I was going to say the leaderboard is triple zeros, but I think, yeah, you've probably got more...
Yeah, you got to add on the extra.
Telemetry, yeah.
Yeah, you got to add on the extra. I do have extra telemetry right here. That's definitely the benefit that you get from using the overlay system that we now use here at the Canadian Motorsports Network. But yeah, Bailey...
Hallelujah.
Yeah, indeed, hallelujah. After all those years of NASCAR Heat 5, ugh.
Hey, man, you don't have to tell me.
Exactly. I was only here for one season. Meanwhile, you, on the other hand, okay, we have a hard hit in front of Scott Bailey right there. That's Dylan Baum's number 3 car.
With all the smoke, it almost looked like a bomb went into the corner.
Looking the rest of the way here, Corbin McCauley right now in 3rd place. 0.087 behind now. He's going to go for a spin. Backs it right into the wall.
Guys, the spins are usually reserved for the donuts at the end. Hold on.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. And he's going to take out, but also not take out a traffic cone, if that's a way to put it.
Well, that's how you put it. But I wouldn't have known which way to go with that myself, so I totally get where you're going with that.
For sure. Just to make this a little bit more clear, I think we're very going to quickly take away from the action just so I can actually write down what the heck these guys are actually driving, if it's possible here. If it'll even let me read them. Okay, yes, I indeed can. That will definitely help. So we'll stay on a loop video here very quickly. We will get back to the racing action very quickly here. So McCauley's actually driving a BMW. I had a Porsche written down. Or maybe the game's glitching with me here for a second, actually. So excuse us, folks. We will be right back here very quickly just so we can figure out just a couple of things. So do stay tuned. We will get racing here very shortly. Alrighty then, sorry about that, folks, but trying to figure out some things here, trying to get through the voice chat to these drivers, but apparently I just learned that I do not have admin privileges, so that does not help one bit. So in that case, cars will roll to the green here. They will have the engines fired up anyways. Only 9 cars, so we won't bother with an extra pace lap, I believe, by the sounds of it. And right off the bat, we already have a disappearance moment from Dylan Baum. All good there, Jordy?
I am here.
The man is here.
Well, that might be a bit of a stretch for this particular class of cars, but I'm around.
Yeah, same.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with these cars either, but this is pretty much a learning curve just here to experiment. You know, it's a special event. Still an exhibition.
Looked like he blinked.
And I had the voice chat on there. That's not supposed to happen. And I was just seeing there in the chat, Magrum has his money on Dylan Baum, and yet he literally just disappeared as soon as the cars were about to roll. So there's no sign of him anymore.
Well, the flip side of that, well, I was about to say that we were going to have a little bit more time, but Pace Car just decided to do a dip.
Yeah, no extra pace slap, so the field will go to green without Dylan Baum. I believe he may just disconnected there as well. So green flag is out for the 2 Hours of Daytona. We are underway on the Daytona road course. Scott Bailey in the 88 is going to lead the way. And get a pretty good jump here so far, and there's already trouble in the back. That's going to be Jason Butler in the grass.
And he's just disappeared as well.
And he's gone too. So that's 2 drivers potentially gone here, although Butler might just be going back to pit road. I don't know for sure what's going to happen there, but we'll eventually find out as Scott Bailey leads the way with Corbin McCauley in second in his number 17 Porsche. And then right behind right here, Jared Ireland in third place in his...
That's a Merc.
Yeah, that would be a Mercedes AMG car right there. Michael Langley hanging on there in fourth. I believe those would both be Mercedes cars there between the two guys there. And then you got Andy Hurdle in the Ferrari in fifth.
And that's actually a different paint scheme from what I thought he was going to be running, or at least what he presented in one of the chats that we had earlier. So maybe a last-minute shake-up there from our resident man from Ohio, who's, by the way, racing through this through COVID. So, you know what? That's no fun. I've broadcasted through COVID before. That was not fun. I cannot imagine what it's like to be driving through it, especially when you need, you know, just that much more focus.
Sent us a picture there of him. He had a keyboard, a mouse, and a stack of napkins, or whatever you call that thing.
And the ibuprofen. He was super clear to point out that the ibuprofen was there as well for obvious reasons.
Exactly. And Andy Hurdle, of course, coming into this race here with plenty of success from road racing here in the Canadian Motorsports Network. Finished 5th place in the 2021 Formula One Series standings with 3 podiums and a Cadillac. Finished 5th in IndyCar in 2022 with 9 starts, 1 win, 4 podiums in a Chevrolet. And he was the inaugural Canadian Motorsports Network Indianapolis 250 champion.
Yeah, if I recall, one of those, I think the one that Jared Ireland won might have been a sort of test session, not unlike this. And then the one that Andy Hurdle won was kind of the more official in-season version of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at that page there for the IndyCar series, and I saw those little separations there. There was that one lonely race for the inaugural Indy 250, and then there was a full schedule of the whole season. So that would make sense right there. But Andy Hurdle now, I may have forgotten Andy Hurdle's NASCAR statistics, but I do know that here in this 4th season of NASCAR racing that we are underway with, Andy Hurdle's been off to a pretty solid start for his first time in the next-gen car. Even though there are no road courses on the schedule, he's been doing pretty solid for his first time on the ovals.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes to show, like, how many times have I kind of talked about him adapting to different series as well, and this would just be yet another example of that. So, yeah, don't be surprised to see him still figuring in throughout the NASCAR series over the course of the year, but especially tonight as well. Obviously, limited field provides a few more opportunities, but at the same time, you still have to keep the car on the road regardless of who's around you.
Indeed so, and again, looking at the standings after Atlanta last week, Andy Hurdle currently sitting 14th in the standings with 2 top 5s and 2 top 10s. He's shown the pace to even perhaps go for a win from time to time, but lately he has had a little bit of bad luck outside the top 10. Finished only 19th at Atlanta, got 11th at Homestead, so just been kind of an up and down season for him, but the pace has obviously been there. I'm sure whenever we try to venture out onto road courses for Season 5 of the NASCAR series, he will definitely be a contender to watch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that progression here once more. And again, the other point to note from tonight, obviously, it's more kind of the endurance style racing. So again, you're not seeing a lap counter, you're seeing a countdown.
Indeed so, and I'm looking back to this chat here with Magrum. Of course, he would like to see an open wheel race in Indy or Auto Club, or maybe even Daytona for the Special Events League. I mean, yeah, whenever IndyCar went to Auto Club, I remember that, I believe it was the final race in 2015. That was definitely a barn burner of event. A lot of fans miss it, although a lot of drivers don't seem to, of course. And now looking back on the track right here, Corbin McCauley catching right up to Scott Bailey, and it looks like these two almost, yeah, they will be side by side going through this first turn here, but Bailey's going to prevail on the inside right there. McCauley staying back right there, about 0.3 behind.
And that's probably a smart move from McCauley there. Just kind of make sure you get through that opening sequence of this 3.5 mile road course here, especially with that kind of short, I don't know if you want to call it a retaining wall, certainly a barrier of some description. That just makes it just that little bit tighter whenever you're coming off of that banking. And so you don't want to cause anything that will potentially hinder you later.
Indeed so, and I'm just seeing here now, one of the cars that looked to be disconnected originally, the number 3 of Dylan Baum, is now back out on the track 2 laps down. Still no sign of Jason Butler when I click on his name on the telemetry.
He shows up on the leaderboard still, though, so he's still around in some form.
Just trying to figure things out for sure. Been nice to see him bomb back in this one. Again, there is still over 2 hours remaining, so still time for things to shape out. Although there are no...
No,
yeah, go on. You go on.
Oh, I was going to say the fact that, again, it's a 2-hour race. Another thing to keep an eye on is we're doing an 8 times like kind of clock acceleration here. So there will be a day to night transition here that our drivers will be dealing with. Obviously that will kind of affect sight lines as we progress through the evening here. And again, it'll be interesting to see how the drivers navigate that.
Yeah, just seeing some of the lights coming on some cars back there. I believe it was Ireland and Langley in 3rd and 4th place there. Indeed so, they got the lights on. McCauley now there as well. But yeah, we experienced our first day to night transition in the NASCAR series back at Chicagoland Speedway for round 5 of 20. That was definitely fun to witness, and that played a role in track temperature and tire wear, of course. But looking back at this again too, talking about Dylan Baum and him getting back into this one, there are no full course yellows, but if there are any restarts needed, it is double file back.
And in the event that something does happen, there is one fast repair available to each driver.
Yes, that is correct. Just looking at some of these other rules that we do have here for this race. There is an incident warning for every 16 incidents, although I would think now having only 8 cars on the track, I don't think we should be too concerned about something like that. And I would really love if I wouldn't have pop-ups on my screen right there. I already went through that once in one NASCAR race. That was definitely not fun. But it looks like McCauley here, what is about to shape up to be fun, here's Corbin McCauley going to the high side here through the tri-oval, coming to the first corner against Scott Bailey, trying the second time. But it looks like this time around he will stick back on that high side. Bailey moves in front of him. And if you're looking at this top 2 compared to the rest of the field here, Jared Ireland about 4.5 seconds behind these 2 cars, or at least behind the leader. But Scott Bailey and Corbin McCauley here remaining in about a 0.5 second margin here. You can see Ireland and Langley ever so slightly back there, but it's almost a 5 second difference here between Ireland and the leader. with 2 hours and 10 minutes to go, as you can see on the ticker.
Yeah, and looking at that lead battle there, the last couple of laps that we've been following this, Scotty's had that inside line absolutely on lock. So obviously that gives him optimal position, forcing Macaulay to try and go the long way around if he's going to make a move, especially through turns 1 and 2, where, as I mentioned earlier, certainly a lot narrower. And as a result, Bailey having that ability, he's able to pull out a little bit of a gap, but don't be surprised if, again, the 17's right on the back of Bailey here sooner rather than later.
For sure. And yeah, you are, I'm looking through my notes here, you are correct in the winning prize or whatever. It is a $50 iRacing gift card courtesy of Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, so we thank them for sponsoring the Canadian eMotorsports Network, of course, and offering that payout to whoever the deserving man is here tonight for the 2 Hours of Daytona. Macaulay trying to go to the high side once again here on Scott Bailey, but again, you were saying, Jordy, Bailey's still got that inside line just locked firm in center, and he will continue to do that heading into turn 1. Macaulay's still staying stuck on that high side, although it looks like he will try to transition a little to the inside there. Bailey may have had a bit of a wiggling moment. Macaulay's going to also wiggle around behind him too, but the two cars will stay ahead and behind each other going through. That was turn 3.
Yeah, and a little bit different approach there from Macaulay that time around. He was side by side with Bailey the previous 2 laps going into turns 1 and 2. It felt like he may have hung back just a little bit that time around, and it felt like he got a little bit of a better exit, which allowed the fight to continue just a little bit longer. But you can see kind of the end result of that now is Scott Bailey pulling out a little bit of a gap as they come back out to the oval, and Macaulay spins.
Macaulay goes around in turn 6. I mean, we saw there as the cars are going through as the 2 cars between him and Bailey were going through turn 3, exiting off at least, Macaulay fell back to about a second and a half. So something seems to be going on there with Macaulay, but that's only going to give Scott Bailey an even bigger lead here by almost 5 seconds, while Ireland and Langley do have a bit of a close proximity there. It would not surprise me Macaulay was able to catch back up here. He is over 7.5 seconds behind the leader now, but only about 2.5 behind Langley. So again, Macaulay does have the speed there, but it seems as though some issues arose right there coming out of turn 3. Again, still plenty of time remaining in this event for things to shape out. There's Hurdle coming out of turn 12.
That's the thing. Again, timed event as opposed to number of laps. So
yeah,
maybe kind of allows for, a little less panic to set in, perhaps, especially given that, it's very early on, as we've mentioned, and plenty of opportunities for that deficit to be made up, and ultimately, just kind of figure it out as you go along, in a sense.
Just pretty much have to naturally get through this one as the time goes on. Just go with the flow and see what happens by the end of this one. Trying to see if maybe there's someone else we can talk about here. Yes, that's the number 23 of Ryan Gibson, who does indeed have experience in our more open wheel and road racing sides of the Canadian eMotorsports Network. Back in 2020, he claimed 12th place in the standings in Formula One. I couldn't find any specific statistics from that year, but I was able to eventually find that instead from 2021, where he finished 8th in the standings with 5 podiums, 1 pole, 2 fastest laps, driving an Aston Martin car. In 2022, he mixed in between the F1 All-Star Series and the IndyCar Series. In F1, he finished 12th place, scoring 1 win in an Aston Martin once again. In IndyCar, finished 6th place in the standings with 8 starts, 1 podium, and 1 pole in a Chevrolet. And so far in Season 4 of the NASCAR Series, it's been a very up-and-down year for him. Again, he's another guy he's got the pace, but just needs a little bit more luck to be able to prevail and maybe get the job done at some point. But he's proven to be a contender, especially with his veteran experience coming from the NASCAR side of the network. Again, took a break in 2022 and then return this year.
Yeah, and again, not necessarily the first person you'd think of as like a road course specialist by any means, but a guy who can just kind of consistently get the job done is probably the best description that I can give for the number 23 out of Morgantown, West Virginia. And again, a season 1 Earl Ross Cup champion on the NASCAR side of things, so very capable within this group of drivers. And I know you mentioned some of the Formula One results there earlier, and maybe not quite where some people would think he might end up, but if I recall, there were a few races missed over the course of those seasons as well. So not necessarily reflective completely of the ability that Gibby's got.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Statistics don't always tell the story of how talented a driver is, and if you want to go ahead and do your good old humor with the highest position and the lowest position that Gibson's had in this race.
I mean, it kind of speaks for itself there, doesn't it?
Yeah, show don't tell. Nice. But we'll move on.
Yeah.
And now, again, Scott Bailey in his 88 remaining up front by, again, the deficit still remains at about 4.5 seconds. It looks as though Michael Langley is actually taking over the second position over Jared Ireland here. So Langley moving his way up. Ireland, though, does get side by side with him into the corner.
Again, though, that inside positioning is right there. Langley with that on lock.
Indeed so, and almost a bit of a dive there by the looks of it from Ireland, but he's going to keep holding on. McCauley looks as though he is catching up to Ireland ever so slightly, now about 1.5 seconds behind. It looks as though Langley is actually kind of catching up. If you look at the margin there, it was originally about 4.5 seconds, but now it's come down to 3. It's just kind of going, yeah, now it's going back and forth here. Some of the corners, it'll be 4, and then some will be 4.5. So we'll have to see how that transitions through as we will come down to 2 hours remaining in this Daytona Road Course GT3 race.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes without saying that there will be some variance depending on what section of the track a guy happens to be on. Like, for example, if, say, Scott Bailey's coming up to the Le Mans chicane toward the end of the lap, and Langley and Ireland, maybe they're on a straightaway or some of the banking, one's going to be faster than the other in that circumstance. So clearly that's where the variance is going to be. But if we see it come down by more meaningful chunks, then we might be in for something a little more interesting as the evening progresses.
Now another driver that we can get to right here back in 7th place, about 38 seconds behind Scott Bailey, but nice to see him here. It's the number 9 of Michael Wolford, who in our NASCAR series is in year 2, driving for NBR Motorsports from, how do you say, is it Kindy, Michigan?
I believe that's how you say it, yeah.
Alrighty then. So far this 4th season of NASCAR racing, in 6 races, he's got 1 top 5 and 1 top 10. Remains 12th in the standings. Has been every single race so far. That 1 top 5, top 10 came at Auto Club in 4th place. He's been pretty good when it comes to qualifying, with 12th, 9th, 8th, 4th, and 10th in between Daytona and Atlanta. The finishes, on the other hand, have been a bit of a different story in 12th, 4th, 16th, 14th, 11th, and 14th. And if we go to the actual statistics page here that we have for simracerhub.com, which we think that website for providing pretty much everything in comparison to NASCAR Heat 5.
Hashtag shameless plug. Sure.
So, yeah, Wolfer with he's got that average start of 8.50, but the average finish of 11.83. And looking at the best guys here for average starts, he is in 8th, while for average finishes back in 14th. So, just kind of that mid-pack driver. But at the same time, though, you can't always count him out. He's we can call him an underdog here in the NASCAR series. And if I go back to try and find his history here. I believe, what was it, 2021 that he last participated?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm trying to see here. Yeah, I ran in 2021 in the number 7 car for Midwest Elite E-Racing in a Chevrolet. 1 top 5, 7 top 10s, 1 DNF, placed 12th in the standings. And that literally, yeah, again, I was saying that's literally where he is for season 4 right now.
Yeah, that Midwest Elite trio, that was solid. That was Wolford, Scott Bailey, and Matthew Paytak, those 3 coming together. And yeah, they worked together very well over the course of that season. I remember like Paytak was around a 16 casualty. I believe Wolford eliminated in the round of 12, while Bailey wound up at the championship 4. But certainly all 3 drivers showing, significant acumen over the course of that season too. Of course, we've seen it in season 4 as well, with Paytak picking up the win last week at Atlanta after, the eventful finish. But I got to go back to, again, you were trying to get me to throw some of the humor out earlier. My man Wolford's running a Playboy scheme. What do you want me to do with that?
I think the silence speaks for itself. But yeah, you're talking about Paytak there. Finally, a long time coming for him and his number 21. Oh, we have trouble. Jared Ireland, I believe, just went for a spin here in the bus stop between turns 8 and 11. Or 8 and 9, I don't know. The amount of different 24 Hours of Daytona layouts that you find on Google are very different, to say the least. But I'll try to see if we can go back here. Yeah, Ireland actually was able to save the car ever so slightly, but Macaulay's still getting by him. So see here, maybe get a better angle. Huh?
No, I was going to say, let the angle tell the story. Here it just looked like maybe a little bit of a wobble out of that turn. Yeah, there you see it kind of going sideways. Just again, on the exit of the infield section of this 3.5-mile track.
And another one of those moments where you're supposed to take the ticker off for a replay, but of course I didn't do that because I forget many things. But we are now under 2 hours remaining here in the 2 Hours of Daytona GT3 special event race here for the Canadian Motorsports Network. And going back to what we were talking about there with Matthew Paytak, yes, you right after he took the checkered flag, you immediately went on the microphone and we're talking about how it's been a long time coming for him to finally visit victory lane. And I remember too on that that restart that we somehow got, we both were pretty shocked that iRacing was able to throw the automatic caution once CD Magram went around right there and Paytak was able to get through that wreck. And you probably had the best perfectly cut screen we've had in a long time here in the Canadian Motorsports Network, NASC in the network. So
I was gonna say, I think CD might agree that saying that he went around might be a little bit of an understatement.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may or may not have been some aerials involved, like Kyle Kirkwood take note kind of thing.
Sure. Now this is a thing we can now talk about is we have cars coming down the pit lane. It's everyone, actually. So yeah, that'll be the whole field coming down the pit lane.
Yeah, not a whole lot of variance in strategy here, to say the very least, in the early going anyway. So our clock started at what, 2 hours, 20 minutes?
I believe it did, yes.
Somewhere in that ballpark. So that's 24 minutes gone if we do the math. So the time change we've seen so far would be 3 hours worth in terms of the kind of conversion of the transition. Again, that's why you're seeing it effectively be pitch black right now.
Indeed so, and I believe as everyone comes out the pit road there, and I believe Dylan Baum is, or who was that final car? That would be the number 9
That's
Playboy
Wolford.
car. Yeah, Wolford. So that does it for pit stops. Scott Bailey coming out on top, about almost 4 seconds ahead of Langley, who is just over McCauley there. What was I going to say there? Yeah, Magram, if you're still watching this, I sincerely apologize for providing some PTSD for you there.
I think he said he was going to actually make that his new profile picture, so I think you're probably all right. But speaking of all right,
yeah,
McCauley might be all right with second here.
I was going to say that. We have a battle here for second place between McCauley and Langley, with the former on the inside, the latter on the outside, through turn 2 of the oval layout, if that's a way to put it. So we'll see who gets the advantage here in the chicane. I bet the inside for McCauley probably will take the favor. We'll have to see here. And indeed, so I was correct. McCauley will take the advantage on the inside. Again, we've been talking about that inside line at this track. On this layout, it causes drivers to be locked firm in center to take advantage against everyone else. So Bailey remaining about 4.7, almost 5 seconds there ahead of McCauley. But McCauley taking second over Langley, trying to get some adversity after an earlier incident that sent him back to 4th. Ireland will be back here. My math is correct, but that would be almost 7 seconds behind Langley there. Here comes Hurdle coming through the tri-oval with Ryan Gibson not too far behind there. Wolfer coming off of turn 4 for the oval layout. And then here's Dylan Baum in turn 3 for the oval. Jason Butler, again, if I click his name, it doesn't show up. So fortunately, 14 laps down, it looks as though he probably is done of this one.
And I mean, it's incredibly unfortunate to see that so early on, especially knowing the work that Jason Butler put on behind the scenes in order to get this together in the first place. Shame to see him go out that early.
Indeed, and looking at my notes here for his statistics on the open wheel side, he's been very successful when it comes to Formula One, and then IndyCar back at Again, a driver that's been with the network ever since the very beginning, back in 2020 in the Formula One series, finished 7th in the standings with his one win being the Brazilian Grand Prix in a Bugatti. He returned in a Bugatti for the 2021 season and advanced his way up to 3rd place in the standings with an Australian Grand Prix victory, 7 podiums, 2 poles, 2 fastest laps. In the 2022 F1 All-Star Series, he claimed 3rd place with 3 wins and 4 podiums in an Alpine. And then for the 2022 IndyCar Series, he claimed 7th place in the standings, 10 starts, 1 podium, 4 DNFs though. I mean, yeah, 4 DNFs, and then those other 6 starts has been able to finish, but not as fortunate that time around in a Honda. So again, Butler has shown a lot of success when it comes to open wheel and road racing. On the NASCAR side, it hasn't been as very successful, but again, in this 4th season of NASCAR racing, he has shown the pace, just needs a little bit more luck, and I don't mean to put anything on him in particular if I look at these season stats, but if we look at incident points, he does in fact have the most. So do I say anything further about that?
Well, I think it's safe to say, like, with a number of the incidents that has kind of contributed to that number, a lot of them, the poor guy was just a passenger.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's probably a fair way to, leave that, and, fair way to kind of move forward here. As we see, Langley's just moved up to 2nd here. Did McCauley have something else go on?
It looks as though he may have. So I did go for a spin. We'll see coming through this corner here. Yeah, it just loses the back end, goes around in turn 6.
That's a couple of times he's been plagued by that corner, just again coming out of the infield section of the track, and that's ultimately what caused him to drop to 4th in the first place. Now it's back to the drawing board and trying to play catch up.
Indeed so, and there was a point I was making. Yeah, you made the point earlier about Daytona being completely under the lights, and looking at the 2023 season schedule for the NASCAR series for season 4. We return to Daytona on July 25th for the Firecracker 200, which will be round 13 of 20, and
That'll be the regular season finale.
Yeah, we're doing a real life. Daytona is the regular season finale. We're also doing that here. Where else but Daytona? I mean, for this series especially too, so far through 6 rounds. Belmonte got the first 2 races. McCauley then got 3 wins in a row. And then Matthew Patek was able to deny those 2 from just permanently obtaining the headlines within the first 5 races. But again, though, like if we look at the schedule here, we have Michigan, Charlotte, Talladega, and Kansas to comprise the month of June, which, again, it's all intermediates right there. But then you got Talladega. Again, we were just at Atlanta, so there's 2 more intermediates, and then we're just right back on a super speedway. And then it's an intermediate. We got Kansas, and then we got a short track in North Wilkesboro. We got the very, very popular Texas Motor Speedway. What would be the term there? I believe it's /S for sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably fair.
And then we're again right back at a super speedway at Daytona. So I believe for the Firecracker 200 Daytona, we will be under the lights for the second time around in Daytona, which will definitely be a fun one whenever we get to the end of July.
Yeah, and obviously goes without saying everything will be on the line there, as you know, the top 16 will get locked in at that point. As you know, things have kind of spread out here on the track, it has to be said, as we're just a little over half hour into our coverage here. Looks like about 3.8 seconds the gap between Bailey and Langley there, Reeks.
Between Bailey and Langley, you said there?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be about 3.3 seconds right there with an hour and 48 seconds to go here at Daytona. And I did see earlier, too, Bailey actually seemed to be losing a bit of time before the pit stops. I don't know if that was actually during the time when he came down pit road, but I could have sworn as the cars were about to come to turn 6, Bailey had lost there was a little bit of time there gained on Bailey, but now this time around, Scott Bailey just holding firm in his number 88 car. Langley 3.6 behind McCauley there, 7.7. There's Jared Ireland at 10. Andy Hurl at almost 19. Then there's Ryan Gibson slowly catching up behind there, about 19.4. Michael Wolford is 1 lap down. Dylan Baum remains 2 laps down. He's actually just coming off a pit road. I'm going to see here what he did, if we can get a good angle of what was done here. I assume if the car fully is floating in the air, that means all tires are going on.
That would make sense. We don't have the, what would you call it, the equivalent of the dog lifting the leg for the 2 tires?
That would be correct, yes, for each side. So I believe that's the way it goes in these cars. And that's what helps with an event like this, especially for us. We don't have the absolute greatest knowledge of these cars and this part of open wheel road racing. Or not open wheel, but you get what I mean. But again, stuff like this is why we're here, to get some education, but at the same time provide our little personal insight whenever we can. Speaking of something like that, I'll ask you, Jordy, what do you think would be a good idea for the next special event that we could do for the network?
Oh man, I have not spent any time thinking of this, so this is absolutely an on-the-spot question here. Let me just think. Obviously, you know, this is a nice little foray into, you know, the special events scene. That's the other thing about us making the transition here. Like, I'm not particularly familiar with all of the iRacing race formats that are available, so you may have to get back to me on that one.
Well, I know right off the bat I would love to have a late model race of some kind, especially with the Cars Tour late models. I believe they're called the late model stock, I believe. I believe that's the term. Yep, that would be the late model stock, which is right in honor of the Cars late model stock tour in the United States. According to iRacing's description here, it's an important step in the career of many of stock car racing's top stars, which concludes names like Josh Berry, Sam Mayer, Myatt Snyder, Haley Deegan, Christian Eckes, Ty Gibbs. Late model stock car is powered by a 350 cubic inch engine. Both crate and custom engines are available. Produces well over 400 horsepower. Fiberglass body panels help keep the car on the lighter side, but are still durable enough to take on the full contact nature of short track racing. And it puts on some of the best shows in short track racing anywhere it goes, and the Cars Tour takes them to many of iRacing's most popular short tracks, including Southern National Motorsports Park, Hickory Motor Speedway, Langley Speedway, South Boston, and of course, no surprise here, North Wilkesboro.
Man, I'm looking forward to that one on the NASCAR side of things. Obviously, just coming back into the equation with the All-Star Series in real life. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how our drivers in particular navigate that one short track on the calendar this year.
For sure. And again, we will be, as was said before with road courses, we will also be transitioning to short tracks, hopefully, whenever Season 5 of the NASCAR Series comes around. Because again, for our first season here, the fourth season of NASCAR Series racing, first time on the iRacing service, we do want to have things competitive, but at the same time, we don't want to go too overboard in terms of potential incidents and continuous caution flags, although we've kind of already seen that in some patterns with some races in the current season. So just kind of sticking to the super speedways and the intermediates. We do have that one short track in North Wilkesboro as a bit of an experiment just to see how that will go. Thing is, though, again, whenever we don't have all, crazy number of cautions in a race, green flag racing is still extremely impressive. I know Chicagoland had a bit of a break in that one. We only had one incident in that race, but other than that, it was basically just full green flag racing, and it was just amazing from there on out. And then we saw at the ending in between, again, you got the leader here in Scott Bailey, and then there's Corbin McCauley here back in third place with Jared Ireland slowly catching up to him. Contact between Bailey and McCauley, almost had the 17 going fully spinning around off of turn 2, but he was able to keep the car straight somehow, and he made his way back up to Bailey and was able to hold on to get his third win in a row. And then, as we all know, at Atlanta Motor Speedway, did not pay any favors as Jared Ireland is going to go around behind McCauley there, and that's going to give some room here. Actually, no, Michael Wolford's actually 2 laps down, so that would not give him any room to advance a position, but it might, I guess in a way, in his run to try and maybe get a 1 lap down, then sure.
Yeah, and that was an unfortunate circumstance there for Ireland in particular, because from what I'd seen, he'd gotten well under a second behind McCauley, as again, he was trying to get back into second place or get up into second, but again, it seems like it's that, exit out of the infield. That seems to be where guys are having a lion's share of the problems here so far.
Indeed so, and as I'm looking through this list of iRacing cars right here to see if we can get some ideas for what we could do next for special events, there is also the idea of maybe trying a Formula 1 special event, because we have definitely discussed the idea of transitioning from the EA Sports F1 games over to the iRacing service instead, although we have, I would assume most of us have now seen the trailer for F1 23, which so far has actually looked pretty impressive, and there's been a lot of positivity towards it so far with new graphics, new physics, and it just seems as though the racing is definitely better. And as I think something may have just happened here to Scott Bailey, he has lost the lead, and Michael Langley is going to take the lead now, so Scott Bailey falling back about over 4 seconds, so we're going to have to look back and see what happened. Okay, immediately on the replay there, I see a barrier moment, so just
didn't have the grip. into the turn, it would appear.
Just braking did not work there whatsoever, and he just slipped off in the grass and just barely tapped the barrier. So that's going to give us a new race leader in the 2 Hours of Daytona GT3 race, and that's going to be Michael Langley, who will now be, he'll be approaching here 5 seconds ahead of Bailey. Oh, and would you look at this, it's right back to Bailey versus McCauley here. Unfortunately, not for the lead this time around, but I mean, hey, those two cars coming right back at it. Again, we were just ironically talking about Chicagoland, so it's as if we were talking about that, and then a few minutes later, it brings them right back to each other.
And
Go figure.
We say that as if we haven't, forgotten how Atlanta ended last week with, again, Bailey and McCauley coming together.
Oh, how could I forget about that?
almost ending up in pit lane out of turn 4 as they were coming to the checkered.
How could I possibly forget about that? But yeah, I remember Paytech was right in, it was Paytech, Bailey, and McCauley, or trying to remember what it was in my memory. Gets me right here. But yeah, I remember it was Paytech and Bailey there together, McCauley and Bailey fighting for second place, and then McCauley gets turned by Bailey, which then sends McCauley back to 8th place. Bailey, I believe, only finished 5th. But I remember in the post-race interview, of course, Paytech was very comfortable in having his teammate Scott Bailey there pushing him from behind. So, yeah, again, Bailey and McCauley got together there at Chicagoland, and that time around, it didn't result in anything other than McCauley saving the car and then going on to get him back and win. But then in Atlanta, I don't know if you would call it revenge in a way. It definitely wasn't, but I mean, if you want to call it that and give it a dramatic headline, then sure.
I'd just call it hard racing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're guys who, neither one of them's going to give an inch. And so it's not surprising that when those kind of combustible elements come together, something happens.
And the thing is, too, with most of these drivers in the NASCAR series, too, especially with McCauley, pretty much every post-race interview I've had with him, we've talked about the parity in the series and how even though nobody gives an inch, everyone remains respectful for each other. Because, again, for our first season in the iRacing service, we all know it's the first time around. We're all still, a lot of us are still learning as we go, and hard racing is just all part of it. So McCauley has definitely praised everyone that's been involved here in this 4 seasons so far, and I am losing my voice here for some reason.
Well, while that happens, I'll take over for a second to provide more of an answer. I hope you had a cough button there, by the way. Oh, man.
I'll unmute myself yeah, I do have a cough button. I'll tell that to the audience as well. Jesus.
And while Regan has a jammer on the air, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit. And yeah. And so I will go ahead and answer the question that he had for me a little bit earlier in terms of what I'd maybe want to see in terms of, a future special event. And I mean, with these drivers, this field, how tight it is, we got to kick up some dirt at some point, right?
Yeah, I think I should be all good now. Should have muted myself in that little software we use to communicate with each other as well, because that might have been... you were talking, then you just hear... But, yeah, going back to this, I still have this car list out here. If we go to the dirt track stuff, I mean, yeah, there's... you got the small and big block modifieds from Dirt Car Racing. You got the World of Outlaws sprint cars. Dirt Car also has those as well. You got the World of Outlaws Super Late Model, Pro Late Model, Limited Late Model. They got all kinds of late models. But again, it's just there's late models, there's sprint cars, there's even Dirt Legends, because I don't know if any iRacing developer has any sanity at all in that one. There's also Dirt Street Cars. You can also, there's also the NASCAR Dirt trucks, because they've been to Eldora, they've been to, why do I forget the name of that other track that they've gone to recently?
That's a fantastic question.
I will go.
One that I'm not necessarily equipped to help you with.
That would be Knoxville Raceway in Knoxville, Iowa, which, yeah, that had chaos written all over it whenever the series went there for, was it the first time in 2021? Yes, it was the first time in 2021. That race was just full of chaos. But yeah, there are definitely multiple options when it comes to dirt racing. Again, it's sprint cars, late models. You could try even a street stock or even a legend if you want to really have some insanity in you. But between that, I would say it's kind of, actually, I probably shouldn't be saying anything about that right now, because Bailey and McCauley are going at it here through the trial with almost an hour and a half remaining in this race. McCauley's really giving it to the back bumper there of Scott Bailey.
But again, that inside line is holding, and it's not really giving McCauley an opportunity to get around on the outside either, because sometimes you know, that's a power. Oh, maybe I'm speaking too soon here.
No, he's going to clear him again by only barely. It looked like he almost had the inside, but maybe Bailey had the better run there from the high side. So even though this isn't the battle for the lead, I mean, hey, we're still getting a battle. That's all that matters here. I mean, again, Michael Langley, you can see right there, if you look from his rear chase, there's all the cars. There's Bailey and McCauley right there in the background.
Yeah, just a touch under 5 seconds adrift there, that battle.
Now we can finally get an onboard camera going here. You can see those engine RPMs going up to 9,000 right there, and then mixing around with 8,000 there. But it's 6 gears here for these cars, and then they're going up to almost 170 miles per hour right there at full speed. Shifting down to the 3rd gear here for the bus stop. Right up to the 4th gear, right out of the bus stop there. Colley staying firm behind Bailey. Getting closer and closer to an hour and a half remaining here. Again, it's just kind of a case where it kind of feels like this is going on for a while, but at the same time, though, time is ticking down. So, again, still plenty of time for things to happen, but these drivers still should try and gain every bit that they can to take advantage as this goes on. And look at McCauley right there, right on the bumper of Bailey.
Yeah, again, just maybe not the smoothest entry into one there, though. It looked like a lot of hand movement there in that cockpit, even though he was right up again on the back, as you mentioned. Again, ultimately, the 88 just had the better run into the turn, and that translated into better car placement. Although, on, I believe it's this turn here, it's hard to know without the benefit of the overhead. Bailey tends to go a little bit wider, maybe not quite taking the same apex as McCauley, so that could present an opportunity a little bit later on if Bailey happens to slip, because that was where he wound up in, to quote Steve, I can't remember his name, but the YouTuber, the guy who introduced us to his friend Barry R.
Interesting notes there. Again, going
back. Gotten that reference.
Sorry?
I figured you would have gotten that reference.
I think you'll have to repeat that. You'll have to repeat that one. That was a little all over the place.
Yeah, let me, I'll see if I can find him here to actually remember the dude's name, but he was like he's a YouTuber who streams like a lot of Gran Turismo.
Okay.
Stuff. And yeah, instead of, you know, just calling it a barrier, he'd refer to it as like a living sentient being known as Barry R.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's a good YouTuber. Super GT, that's who he is.
Yeah.
That's who it is. Definitely recommend that channel. It's been a while since I've watched it, but very entertaining presentation.
Good to know there, and I would assume, looking through our chat here once again, 5988 Racing is Butler.
Yes.
Yeah, Butler, sorry. It's,
Oh,
obviously, we are sorry that you had a bit of unfortunate circumstances there at the start of this race, but nice to see to still have your presence here known in the chat as you also are giving us some ideas here for what we could do next for special events season, the IR01 at Indianapolis, or as you call it, the Yard of Bricks. I know that
yeah.
with... Huh?
No, go ahead.
I know that with IndyCar, that an IndyCar plus iRacing equals awkwardness. But again, though, I would assume it's only with the new car, something like that. Yeah.
And speaking of awkwardness, I've got a bit of a relay from one Jason Butler himself, which merely only says, "I got a weird DQ, LOL."
Oh, okay, that is definitely unfortunate.
Didn't really expand on it, just a weird DQ.
There just really hasn't been no luck for him this year.
No.
Oh, my. I guess again, considering we're at Daytona, maybe the Daytona regular season finale will definitely be a race to keep an eye on for someone like him to maybe come forward and prevail with, or maybe an earlier race. Well, I mean, there is Talladega coming up, but now we're seeing here another round of green flag pit stops as everyone comes down the pit lane. McCauley got a really good advantage, I believe, up against, I believe that might have been Bailey whenever they were coming down the pit lane. We'll watch as this goes on before we get back to some of those other ideas here in the chat, but everyone coming down the pit lane, and for whatever reason, Michael Wolford's been on here for almost 200 seconds.
Yeah, didn't see anything inherently wrong there, as that is... Who was in the orange? Yeah, that's Langley coming out first. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He had a few seconds in hand coming into pit lane, so keeping it clean.
Bailey and McCauley will be once again very close there. I think McCauley barely beat Bailey into the pit lane. I believe that's who it was there against him. But yeah, the two cars will remain close together. I would assume that they would both be wishing that this was the battle for the lead. But again, Michael Langley has really come through after Scott Bailey's mistake. Braking mistake, I guess I'll call it, earlier in turn 3. But again, going back to some of the...
Oh, there's a mistake!
Oh, McCauley goes for the spin. He's able to keep it ever so slightly going through the grass. Yeah, just lost the... I think that might have been actually a shift issue, I would think. I think that's how you would lose the pack in. I guess we'll... The onboard might give us a better idea here for the... I believe it must have been a shifting thing, because I think that's how it works there. No, just... Maybe it was just a braking thing right there, but yeah, regardless of anything, just a braking fiasco there with Corbin McCauley.
And, you know, decent job to keep it confined to kind of the inside of the surface there, so no real barriers to worry about, even though he did go sideways. Again, it was just through the grass, no hard contact. Loses a couple of seconds to Scott Bailey as a result, and you know, could potentially be doing some damage to, you know, some cold tires. First, it's the out lap effectively, so
yeah,
you know, we'll have to see how that affects the 17 a little bit later on. But again, the fact that it's happening early in the stint, plenty of time to make that up, but that does give Scott Bailey a little bit more breathing room to...
Oh, and there's more
Michael
trouble
Langley.
for McCauley there. Sorry to interrupt you there, but another braking issue there going through turn 1.
And again, I wonder if that's a byproduct of the incident we saw in the previous lap. I wonder if there's just something not quite right there right now.
Actually, I was seeing there with my... Actually, I went to the live stream there, and it actually gave me back the view of our replay there for McCauley's spin there, and that was turn 5 it was. Keep having to go back to my Google tab there to know which corners are which. Welcome to road courses. But I believe he had it was something with the steer. It was definitely a movement with the steering wheel. Had a bit of a shift to the left, and then it just went fully right there. So maybe it was between that and braking, but I won't know for sure. Maybe until the end of this event here, I'll have to find out what went on with him. we get to that point. But now an hour and 25 minutes remaining in the 2 hours of Daytona, with Michael Langley holding the lead as he goes through the bus stop here in his number 39 MBR Motorsports car. Bailey 5 seconds behind. McCauley just over 2 seconds behind Bailey there. There's Jared Ireland coming down the back straightaway into the bus stop. Andy Hurdle coming through turn 2 of the oval layout. There's Ryan Gibson there as well. Dylan Baum, the lap car, I believe in between. No, he's actually right in front of Andy Hurdle right there. And then there's Michael Wolford on the pit lane. 5 laps down. Baum is 2. Top 6
now for Wolford.
Yeah, now 6 that would be. So 6 cars on the lead lap. Langley's still holding pretty firm here. It looks as though McCauley is still catching back up to Bailey here. I'm sure he will eventually if he's able to maybe get a little bit more consistency when it comes to turns and braking. You were saying?
I was saying that at one point Langley had the lead out to almost 6 seconds here on Bailey, so a lot more fluctuation here on these first couple of laps in this, I guess you could call it, third stint of the evening, because at one point Bailey had it down to 2.9 seconds the gap, and then I saw it up to like 5.7, 5.8. Now it's settled into kind of that high 4, maybe low 5 second range. So I wonder if Langley might just keep it a little bit cautious right now. Again, obviously variance from which section of the track you're in, but you know, Langley, seems to be pretty comfortable out in front.
Very much so, but again, still lots of time remaining. And going back to some of the ideas that we're getting in the chat from Jason Butler, another one is the Whelen Modifieds at 5 Flags. Yeah, 5 Flags is definitely a popular short track at 5 Flags. Speedway is the host of the Snowball Derby. Sure, the late models there would definitely be another popular one as well. It's also suggested the World of Outlaw cars at Eldora. Yes, actually, that was the first dirt track that I thought of when it comes to either maybe sprint cars or late models or maybe even a Legends or street stocks. Eldora definitely would. I would say it would be the #1 consensus out of the field here. I know Lanyard Dirt is another one I thought about. So
I love that his comment just says "woo" for the
woo cars
abbreviation. Yeah, woo cars.
So instead of regular car engine sounds, do we just get cars that just are basically screaming "woo"? Woo!
Yeah,
woo,
I mean,
woo, woo.
Yeah, you just clone Ric Flair, you put him in
Yes.
under each bonnet, and that's where it comes from.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to put it there. But yeah, we're just mixing in between, like, maybe an open wheel race at Indy or Auto Club, maybe even Daytona, although if we did do it on the... If Megra means the Daytona oval layout, then that would be certified fatalities everywhere. I would think Auto Club definitely would be a popular one because, again, if we go back to the 2015 race, fans loved it, drivers hated it. And then we could consider Formula One. And, again, we're thinking about that for the next Formula One season as a possibility. Wheeler Modifieds, World of Outlaw cars. But, again, I'm personally going to go back to late models because I would absolutely love for us to try and get back on the short tracks. But
speaking of getting back, let's take a look at the battle for second here. It looks like they're neck and neck here.
They are. But yeah, I was saying they're going for more of the local stuff, but we'll get back here to this battle for second place. Again, it's just Bailey and McCauley all over again now.
Might have that nose poked out, though.
For some reason, my eyes thought McCauley was on the inside there, but no, it was still Scott Bailey. But, man, McCauley really trying to get by Bailey. And just, again, Bailey really sticking it firm on the inside. McCauley just has not been able to get anything towards that line, get any momentum to try and make a bit of a shift happening. And there's still time with an hour and 20 minutes to go. Again, every time they come through the trial oval, whenever they do get side-by-side, it's always the high side McCauley gets because Bailey's just blocking on the inside. Oh, there was a moment there, though. from Bailey
And that's
along
going to
the
be a
apron.
position change.
And then an airplane in the background landing at the airport. But Corbin McCauley is finally going to get by Scott Bailey. It won't be prevailing on the inside line, but it will be prevailing on a mistake. So Corbin McCauley will go to second place here, and now maybe he'll try and make a run here just under 6 seconds behind Langley. As these cars come off turn 2 of the oval layout, Langley is just going through the bus stop, and you can see the distance right there. But now Scott Bailey's going to get right back on the bumper here of McCauley to try and maybe take this back.
And if you remember just a few laps ago, the corner where the mistake was made by Bailey to allow McCauley past, that was where he nearly ended up in the barrier just a few laps previous. So clearly the handling not quite there in that particular turn for Bailey, where it seems to be pretty rock solid in the opening corners of the infield layout. But yeah, just that particular one coming toward the exit seems to be a bit of a bugaboo here for the 88.
Indeed so, and looking at this live stream here, once again, it looks as though 8 people watching, now down to 7 people watching. We appreciate those that are tuned into this, whether you're a fan or maybe a driver that's wasn't interested in being involved in this here tonight or wasn't available, but is still here to show your presence off and showing your support for the Canadian Motorsports Network, regardless if you're driving or not. So we greatly appreciate all of you for tuning in to this first running of the 2023 special event season for the Canadian Motorsports Network. And obviously we will be right back to regular points action with the NASCAR Series Season 4 at Michigan International Speedway next Tuesday. And for that information, if I look here at the schedule, that is going to be a 100-lap race. I can't really get the... I would love if the graphic of the schedule here was a little bit better. Maybe I'll be able to get it here on the screen here. That's much better right here. But it'll be a 100-lap race. Stages at 24, 34, and 42. And again, Michigan is considered to be the fastest track in NASCAR with, I remember I had notes on it from a story that will likely go out later this week for the NASCAR Series. Just got to find it here. Yeah, what I had written down was Michigan is a 2-mile, 3.2-kilometer intermediate D-shaped track with wide 18-degree corners, considered the fastest track in NASCAR, with its wide sweeping corners and long straightaways. Relatively smooth surface, so tire wear is not absolutely excessive. And then I said restarts will be wild, drafting will be a factor, and once more pit strategies will come into play. And looking at the track's history on schedules for the NASCAR Series, hosted race 12 of 26 in 2020, which was won by none other than currently in 5th place. If we go to him here, that'll be Ryan Gibson. Andy Hurl just ahead of him and Jared Ireland right behind, so a bit of a 3-car thing going here between 4th and 6th. Going back to my notes here, race 6 of 24 in 2021, which was won by former driver Jacob Nelson. And then in 2022, it was race 11 of 17, the first race of the 2022 NASCAR Series playoffs, and it was won by former driver Mike Nickens. So I would definitely say that considering we don't have Nelson or Nickens for this 4th season of NASCAR racing, Ryan Gibson should definitely be a contender for the win. And even though we are now on the iRacing service, which definitely will play into a hefty transition there, and again, too, he sits 13th in the standings and is had an up-and-down campaign, as we mentioned a while back. Don't count him out. He's got the pace, just needs a little more luck.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there may have been a race that he missed a little bit earlier in the season as well, which sort of contributes to that lower position. But yeah, just going back to some of the history of Michigan that you alluded to, go back and watch that season 2 finish. It was Jacob Nelson, Jonathan Peden, and there was one other driver. It was basically a sprint to the line at the very end. It was fantastic. Easily one of the best finishes we would have had really over the course of the first 3 seasons.
So 2021 that would be?
Yes. Yeah, had the finish line just been, maybe another 50 meters out, I think Jonathan Peden probably gets him. But yeah, Jacob Nelson, he was just like right. It was almost a photo finish, but yeah, it was. Was that the one that was 18 1,000ths of a second? It was somewhere in that ballpark.
Well, at the moment, I'm trying to actually find it right here. Was it the Domino's Pizza 200?
That sounds right to me.
I will definitely look at that. Yeah, that was actually the race. I'm looking at the stream right now.
Yeah, that was Mark and I in the commentator booth for that one. Mark Cox, of course. And again, we're able to talk a little bit more about this as, the lead battles, they've kind of stretched out a little bit. Closest one is what's on your screen right now, with Ryan Gibson just half a second back of Andy Hurdle. Even Jared Ireland getting in the mix. So 4, 5, and 6 all within a second of each other. So a little bit of an interesting midfield development here, Reegs.
Indeed so, and I'm looking back at this finish right here, actually. See, it was Jacob Nelson who did get the victory, but you said 18 1,000ths of a second?
Well, no, there was one that I remember being 18 1,000ths. I couldn't remember if that was the race. It may not have been.
Okay.
I remember making a call on that one. But, yeah, that's, again, a couple of years ago now. So my data could very well be wrong, but I know it was close.
I don't think it was 2021. So if I look at 2020, yeah, Ryan, again, Gibson did win the 2020 race.
Yeah, that one was a little more convincing, if I recall.
Yeah, Gibson, by the looks of it, Gibson had the victory completely, he was way ahead. But then it looks as though there were 3 cars that fought for second, so maybe that was what you were thinking of, or was it for the win?
No, there was one that was definitely of a win. I'm probably getting races kind of combined here.
Because I see 2020, Gibson was way far ahead, and it would look to be about 2 cars that fought for second. It was a photo finish for second place, which resulted in a crash right there.
Yeah, as I say, I'd have to go back and figure out.
Oh, there's trouble! Jared Ireland and Ryan Gibson both look as though they got together through the bus stop.
Beep, beep.
So we'll have to see what happened here. It might have been, again, these 2 cars were close to each other, so if it was a bump from behind and then the spin, that would definitely not be a good look. Okay, so Gibson seemed to have braked a little more than Ireland for sure, and then he goes hard in the outside wall.
It's almost like there was a delay after it happened.
But the look of it would even look to be almost like a brake check, but I wouldn't think that would be the case.
Brake check in a chicane would not be ideal, to say the very least.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I don't think there would be any way for that to be a brake check, but now Ryan Gibson's going to go a lap down here on the pit lane.
I'd love to see that from Ireland's vantage point, actually. I think that would probably provide a definitive answer.
I can do that right now, actually.
Yeah, we got some time. So let's see. Yeah, it looks like a little bump, and yeah, just kind of, again, a delayed reaction almost there from Gibson. Like, you'll feel the tap right about there. And yeah, it goes sideways on the exit, just couldn't quite keep it together.
He and Michael Wolford are actually both in the pit lane here, as Michael Wolford is now 13 laps down, so now we're only going to have 5 cars on the lead lap.
So, yeah, I would suggest that if he's 14 laps down now, I would suggest Wolford's evening's probably done, but I don't want to speculate on that.
And if there's something else we might want to speculate on here, looks as though Macaulay and Bailey are actually both catching up to Langley, as Macaulay is now 2 seconds behind. Bailey only about, I believe that's like, my brain cannot math.
So he's 3.6 seconds back of Langley right now. So it's about a 1.5 gap between Macaulay and Bailey right now.
Yeah, I was going to think of that right there. It's almost a second there. But yeah, we're approaching 1 hour remaining in the 2 hours of Daytona. And by the looks of it, we may start to potentially get a 3-car battle for the win. Of course, Andy Hurdle only 30 seconds behind. Then Jared Ireland now coming off of pit road, 54 seconds behind. Gibson now back on track, 1 lap down. Dylan Baum here 2 laps down. Michael Wolfer remains in the pit lane. And then we're just not going to talk about Jason Butler.
Yeah, he's... yeah, no, I don't have anything to add to that. Again, just an unfortunate circumstance for him with the, quote, weird DQ he took as Macaulay goes sideways.
Oh, Macaulay sideways again into the outside wall, exiting the bus stop. So that's going to...
Same spot as Gibson.
That's going to send it back in now into what could be a 2-car battle if we wind down a couple more minutes here. So Macaulay joins Ryan Gibson in getting into the outside wall there, coming through the bus stop. So we will definitely get a replay of that one.
Yeah, and I have to wonder, Riggs, we've seen a little bit more of this, obviously, in the nighttime conditions. Cooler track, you know, maybe not quite as much in the way of grip out there, and you know, just getting a little bit wide there. It looked like on the exit of that chicane, just
lost the rear end.
Yeah, kind of crossed it
Wham.
up.
Again, we have I guess we're down to 7 cars here in this race, but again, don't underestimate the action. Even though we do have a small field, there's still a lot going on. And I think Scott Bailey was originally about 3.5 seconds behind. He's now dropped down to about 4.5. So Langley's still holding on pretty firm here with 1 hour and 7 minutes to go. Macaulay now coming off of pit road, 50 seconds behind the leader. Andy Hurdle's going to jump up to the bottom of the podium now in 3rd place. Jared Ireland's going to be behind the lap car, Dylan Baum. Macaulay just in front of them. And as I look at the Wing Snob sponsor right there, speaking of Wing Snob, actually, they will be the title sponsor for the next NASCAR Series race at Michigan International Speedway next week on June 6th. So we appreciate Wing Snob for being one of our sponsors for the Canadian Motorsports Network, alongside, if I can pull up the sponsor list that we have here. Where on earth are you? There you are. Wing Snob. There's also Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, who, again, will be offering the payout to the winner of the 2 Hours of Daytona GT3 race here tonight, $50 iRacing gift card. And then we also have the Holland Hurricanes, Rampage Coffee Co., GTR, again, team and sponsor in and for the Canadian Motorsports Network. TrackCams22.com, who offer our custom cameras in the NASCAR Series. Unfortunately, they do not have a package here for the Daytona Road Course, so just using the normal cameras here for tonight, but we appreciate them for enhancing our broadcasts for Season 4 of NASCAR Racing, which a heck of a lot better than what we've had with NASCAR Heat 5. And of course, in the last race that we just had at Atlanta Motor Speedway, we'd like to thank SimWrap Market for offering the custom cameras there, as TrackCams22.com only has the cameras for the old Atlanta layout on that old abrasive tire surface. So again, we like to thank all of our main sponsors, and again SimWrap Market for coming along and providing cameras for our one race on the new Atlanta layout. It's nice to have several sponsors here that value what we do here and want to be a part of what we have and want to show their support. And again, the special events league that we have going here is only gonna, again, I was talking earlier, way earlier in this race about giving it, a pathway for drivers to come in and show interest in the network and possibly get involved on a full-time basis. But this also provides an opportunity for sponsors to even get involved, because we can show off that it's not just, NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar. We also try to do other forms of racing, even if it's not like, a full season of some sorts, just, some of those special events. So overall, it's just a mixture between both drivers and sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been open to continued growth. We've said that since season 1, and again, to have the influx of sponsors that you were kind of alluding to there, with a company like Rampage Coffee being on from pretty well the early days of season 1. To be honest, they've been fairly loyal all the way through. They've been the title sponsor for a couple of our series as well on the Formula One side of things.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been great to have that support, and I mean, it's great to see that expanding a little bit as well. And yeah, absolutely, it's an open opportunity to get involved.
And actually, I'm just looking through the chat here. We have an update from driver himself, Corbin McCauley, not just getting into the outside wall in the bus stop, but he also had to serve a drive-through penalty for too many incidents. Oh boy.
Sigh.
Yeah, that tells the story right there. But yeah, McCauley now marred down to about a minute and 10 seconds here behind the leader of Langley. Bailey remains 3.8 behind. It's just kind of been sticking in that same area for last 10 minutes or so here.
And so for a frame of reference, I'm sure you probably have, well, you would have more of the telemetry than I would. What has been sort of the standard go for an average lap here tonight?
Well, if I look at the best laps that we have here so far, why does the telemetry only allow me to go for positions? Good Lord. I believe the fastest lap would go to... Actually, I think I literally could just go to the race summary there. Yeah, actually, I just go to the race summary there. Yeah, there we go. The fastest lap of the race so far, Dylan Baum with a 1 minute 45.430 seconds on lap 35. Average speed of 120 miles per, I think it's average speed, 120 miles per hour. We've had one lead change and 2 different leaders. Obviously no cautions. I mean, we pretty much don't really need them in this race because pace laps would take literally forever. That's pretty much the story of Road America every time NASCAR goes there. What else can we look at here? Look at the weather info tab. Mostly cloudy. Air temperature 23 degrees Celsius. Track temperature 25 degrees Celsius. 1% humidity. Wind speed at 25 kilometers per hour. The wind direction going southeast. Again, the wind speed always goes back and forth. It's a conflicting thing every single race that we have here on the network. I see the toggle race intro button, but if we were to do that, it would give us the Atlanta 200 logo, so I think we should stay away from that.
Probably a good idea.
And I just realized we completely forgot to do a starting grid, so that's rather unfortunate.
Well, speaking of grids and spots, Langley's in a pit lane.
So we're going to have to toggle pit stop times. Here's Langley and Bailey will now enter the pit lane. Michael
now half-hour pit stop for Wolford.
Oh my goodness!
I think we can pretty well call it at this point, right?
I don't know. Did Wolford? Did he get hungry? Did he do that the thing in the Talladega Nights movie where Ricky Bobby goes to replace that driver that went to go get a burger? I
mean, maybe in this case there's a convenient wake stop location close by. I don't know.
I believe I recall from my time whenever I was at 2019 Daytona Speed Weeks, there was a Hooters across the street.
That is absolutely not surprising. I'm surprised there's not 2.
Oh no, down the street too was a Waffle House. So that's no surprise either.
I was going to say even less surprising.
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely the waffles were good. I even though I was sick for the time I was down there, I still ordered. I didn't realize. I don't know what the specific order I got was, but I got two giant waffles with chocolate chips just spread all over. I didn't realize it was two of them. I originally just wanted to get one of them, but I got double, so I guess that helps. I mean, it didn't help being sick, but I mean, hey, might as well get what you give.
I was
Or
going to
get what you
say,
want. Yeah.
that
I see.
absolutely sounds fantastic, but that is an absolute regret later on.
Yeah, and then getting burnt out in the sun while sick is not fun either. But I mean, hey, you might as well have some gratitude because again, it's Daytona International Speedway of all places. You're at the Daytona 500 of all things. But yeah,
Come
that'll
on, what
definitely
else
be.
are you going to do?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that'll be a goal of mine to go down to a NASCAR National Series race without being sick. I mean, judging by my pattern of going off the island on vacation or whether it's for like business or something, it seems like I'll get sick one time, then I'll be good the next time. So I know the last time I went off the island, which was in New Brunswick a couple of weekends ago for the inaugural race of the Super Late Model Series, the new thing that we've got going over here in Atlantic, Canada. I came back home not sick, although I did. Actually,
Oh, we
we'll
got a
skip that for a
spinner.
second. Scott Bailey goes around in turn one, right in front of.
Oh!
That would be Ryan Gibson.
Now here comes, is that Bomb coming through trying
That's
to
Bomb,
get a lap
yes.
back?
Oh my.
Yeah, I was going to
goodness.
say, delivery looks very similar to the NASCAR one. That was my only guess on him.
We're definitely gonna have to get a replay of that one.
Yeah, it
I'll
was
go
just
back
kind
just a
of a
little bit.
background piece when we were looking first. Yeah, Bailey just kind of goes wide in one.
Just goes into turn one. Seems all good, but then the rear end just kicks out from underneath him. And then you just wait for it, and boop.
He just kind of parked it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, tried to, I think probably was trying to get himself reset, just didn't realize Gibson was coming up that quickly.
Yeah, that's definitely bad timing right there on that one. Then Dylan Baum is going to come through and shoot ahead of both of them.
I think
Yeah, he
Baum
eventually
is
does.
at least a lap down, though.
He eventually does. So that is unfortunate for Bailey because now Michael Langley, with under an hour to go in the 2 hours of Daytona, has a 15-second gap over Bailey. Macaulay about 10 seconds behind there. There's Andy Hurdle, 38 seconds behind the leader. Jared Ireland at 56. So a lot of distance between everyone here at 57.5 minutes to go. But I was, again, back to what I was saying there when it comes to going off the island. I did come back home and I think I did actually get sick I got into some form of a cold a few days later, but again, it wasn't immediately after or during it or whatever. I know a hockey tournament. I went to a hockey tournament in Moncton. I was sick the whole time, so that definitely wasn't fun. So judging by okay, Scott Bailey going down pit road, I thought something happened there, but of course Bailey's going to come down pit road there, but again, as I was saying there, judging by my patterns of going off the island and coming back healthy, I would think the pattern would say I'm going to get sick next time, but hopefully not. I will be heading back over to New Brunswick for race 2 of the Super Late Model Series at Petty International Raceway, so we're writing another chapter there, our first race on the high-banked oval in River Glade, New Brunswick. Definitely been having a fun time with that with social media work and creating content there. Currently underway with making a race preview video for Petty. So that's definitely been fun over here in Atlantic, Canada, as we are trying to rejuvenate some hope here in the Atlantic region, as it's definitely been lacking in a lot of freshness, I would say, if that's a term, because the Maritime Pro Stock Tour, the East Coast International Pro Stock Tour, as we call it now, has been kind of the running thing that's been for years now, originally called MASCAR. Not NASCAR, you replaced the N with an M. The Maritime
Oh man, I
Association
remember
of
that
Rowing.
name.
Yeah, of course you would.
Hey!
No, that's a positive
I
thing.
get it, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm just seeing here now too. We're back at daytime.
And that's the thing with the 8-time clock acceleration. We've got, an hour and 25 minutes of track time in. You do the quick math, that is 11 hours of climate or weather that's elapsed. So sun's coming right back up.
So yes, the sun's going to rise here with Michael Langley leading the way by about almost half a minute here over Corbin McCauley. Andy Hurdle in third, Scott Bailey fourth, Jared Ireland fifth, Ryan Gibson the first car a lap down, then Dylan Baum 2 laps down, Michael Wolford still on pit road 22 laps down. But again, as I was going back there, again, the Pro Stock Tour has been the thing that we've been seeing over here in Atlantic Canada every year. It's just been kind of, getting repetitive, and some drivers were just kind of wanting something new and wanting a little bit cheaper costs. So that's why the Super Late Model Series was started up, and there, it made sense for someone like me, especially being a YouTuber, content creator, and doing all the stuff I've been doing, coming fresh out of year one in a journalism program over here at Holland College. Again, Holland Hurricanes sponsoring the Canadian Motorsports Network, of course, and Holland College being the originating place for the Canadian Motorsports Network as well.
Yes,
Only
sir.
made sense, huh?
No, I just said yes, sir.
Yeah. It only made sense to try and get involved somehow, and the rest is history. And the first race of the Super Late Model Series was very successful. We have a goal of being a driver and fan-focused series, of course, and trying to, have cheaper costs and trying to be as positive as we can be to try and, give back to the Atlantic region, because I would say there's been a bit of a reputation fiasco over recent years in our region, so we're really trying to get back and give ourselves some publicity and give ourselves a little bit more of a positive reputation and more of a positive attitude over here for Atlantic boys, Maritimes guys over here. So it's definitely been going good so far for the first season. So race 2 at Petty will be this weekend on Saturday. Racing begins at 4 p.m. Full race and race highlights will be a thing that will be a pattern for the week after every race, of course. So don't forget to check us out on our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram. Got a YouTube channel now, of course. Again, that's where we'll have the full races and race highlights. And then, of course, the website, slms.ca, for all your information like schedule, roster points, and all the goobly glob that you could possibly need to be educated on the series. Again, driver and fan focus. That's what it's all about over here in Atlantic Canada. That's what we... That's what our mindset is at, and yeah, I pretty much just did a full advertisement there for... I just did a full advertisement right there, so yeah, Super Late Model Series, check us out.
You did indeed, and yeah, you're talking, about the kind of more cost-efficient model. On the flip side, I think I'm headed to the NASCAR Pinty Series race in Edmonton on July 22nd, so that should be an interesting experience as well.
Oh, go on. Nice. I guess that could be...
That's the plan.
I guess that could be another thing I could advertise there, too, as well, on my... Still operating the YouTube channel, Riegser, of course, still going with that nickname. I've been using that again with the Super Late Model Series as well, too. But you can check out my channel, Riegser. We are very close to 800 subscribers. We are continuing the pattern from last year of NASCAR Pinty Series race reviews. I have now this year collaborated with the Stickers and Scuffs podcast, hosted by Cam K. Harris and Graydon Bunn in Ontario. So we're doing some collaboration work to discuss the Pinty Series, and we've had the opportunity for the past 2 Pinty's races that have gone on at Sunset and Canadian Tire Motorsport Park to interview race winner Trayton Lapsevich, who used bump and run, very clean, somehow clean bump and run moves in both finishes to get the job done and score some victories. He's been dealing with some sponsorship issues heading into the season, but now those 2 races will definitely give him momentum and possibly give him more interest from sponsors to get him more partnerships to possibly run a full season and go for the championships. So it's been definitely nice to interview him, and that definitely helps with experience for my college portfolio right there. I'll admit, the first time around whenever we were interviewing Lapsevich, I actually wasn't told that he was going to come on until I got into the Zoom meeting, and then I heard that this meeting is being recorded, and then all of a sudden I see I see the name Trayton Lapsevich pop up at the top of my monitor, and I'm like, oh? And then I see his face pop up, and I'm like, Cam K, oh my goodness.
Well, gotta get thrown in the fire, right?
I know that's definitely a fun way to get introduced like that. No, but it's kind of that thing too, where you kind of have to keep, have to keep professionalism, because you're like kind of a journalism or a reporter, content creator, or whatever. You kind of have to keep that composure. But at the same time, too, though, the collaboration work that I've done with the Stickers and Scuffs podcast, we're doing a bit of a mixture between being content creators, like professional ones, but also being fans, because if you get to keep that mixture, then that only makes it more fun to be involved in the industry and, trying to keep that composure there, especially with a guy like Trayton Lapsevich, a NASCAR Pinty Series driver himself. So definitely trying to keep that composure there was, I guess, a bit of a sport, but, it went relatively easy. I mean, that's kind of the attitude I carry on because, I guess maybe if you're like around like a Cup Series driver, you'll be like, oh my god, it's Chase Elliott. But then with someone like me, I just have the mindset that, like, they're all human. Just treat them normally. I mean, you can be like, oh my goodness, that's him. But it's just trying to keep that composure, of course, especially, again, me being in a journalism program. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But if you're able to keep that balance between, having some professionalism, having some composure there, trying to just know that they're human, obviously, trying to, stay away from status in ways, but also being a fan, too, in some ways, and trying to have some laughter, having some personal conversations, like, that's what it's all about. That's how you have fun in the industry, and, that's just the way it goes,
Yeah, I can definitely speak from, similar experiences on that, of course, going through that same journalism program a number of years ago. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Just kind of suddenly went muffled, but that's another story entirely. But yeah, completely agree on that point. And I mean, like, as much as you do want to kind of abide by the, no cheering in the press box mantra that I've heard in other, kind of institutions that I've been at the same time, offering that angle that you were talking about, it's, it offers something a little bit different than the standard or the convention. And I mean, that's ultimately an opportunity where folks can break through in this line of things and, just being able to demonstrate passion for it as well, which, to kind of circle back to
that's the term
where we are right now. Yeah. To kind of circle back to where we are right now, we wouldn't be in season 4 of doing what was originally a kind of COVID pet project, if we're going to be completely honest. Yeah. We wouldn't still be doing this if there wasn't, passion behind it. And, that brings us to an opportunity like this one on the Daytona Road course for, again, the first of what we're hoping to be many special events.
For sure. Yeah, that was the term I was forgetting. Was passion. If you're able to mix in between passion, it's basically it's a PP thing. I don't stay anything from there, please. Professionalism and passion. If you're able to mix those two, then you're absolutely golden. And so far, that's been the case with again, working with the Super Late Model Series, now working at the local track Oyster Bed Speedway, collaborating with the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Just that mixture has been working to a T so far. And yeah, I probably shouldn't have said what I just said there, but we'll move on. I mean, we've definitely said worse. And going back to what you were saying there, Jordy, you have also been through the Holland College Journalism program. I can confirm that in the newsroom, that is still there. Of course, you still have a picture with some award in there.
Some award. That's the Atlantic Journalism Award. It was like it was a student award my second year in the program. It was basically just for kind of my overall body of work over the course of the 2 years in that program. You poor people for having to see that picture still. But, it was definitely good times, learned a lot, and obviously shout out to the now retired Rick McLean, journalism instructor extraordinaire there as well. But yeah, it's been great to see the evolution of that program, and it's produced lots of great journalism, or journalists, communicators, whatever you want to call it, because certainly it's evolved toward having a little bit more of that straight up communication side of things as well, as opposed to just the straight up story format.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a thing we've been going for as well. That's what we were going for this past first year. For my fellow students and I, going through a lot of social media work with photographs, setting up accounts all across platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We also originally, broadcasting is supposed to be a thing that we don't do until second year, but we actually got started. We got started in some things in first year, just so we can kind of get that a little bit of a leap, a little bit of a jump right there, get an advantage, because I believe something went on with year 2 students that make the instructors reconsider some things. But yeah, you go back to a guy like Rick McClain being a student in his final year of instructing in the program was absolutely an honor. I can attest to him as definitely a very good mentor, almost like I would say almost like an uncle too. Like he's straightforward, he's blunt, he's fantastic when it comes to constructive criticism, and he knows his stuff. And I guess it is a little bit sad that he won't be able to continue teaching us, instructing us, or whatever for our graduation year. But at the same time, I think based on some signals throughout the first year, I think he's probably a bit, in a way, professionally relieved to have left, to leave us. So,
I mean, I think that might be a bit of a stretch. I think the passion will always be there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like certainly, I had talked to him a couple of times over the years as well. I know that he was kind of ready to move on there, certainly, but the mark that's been left there is indelible, as it's a new chapter, a new day, so to speak, just as we're kind of seeing on track as the sun is out in full force.
Indeed it is. Michael Langley continuing to lead by almost 30 seconds here over Corbin McCauley in second. Andy Hurdle 43 seconds behind the leader, and then 48 for Scott Bailey. Jared Ireland now follows a lap down with Ryan Gibson also a lap down. Dylan Baum 2 laps down, and then there's Michael Wolford, who is still
40-minute pit stop.
Yeah, if we talk about the that's what happens when you talk about the pit stop times, and I think we're getting more pit stops here. We can toggle back the times now. That's going to be McCauley and Gibson now coming down the pit lane as Michael Wolford continues to be I
swear to God I didn't trigger that.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know if he's over at Waffle House or maybe over at Hooters, or maybe he's gone into a kerfuffle with all the ticket people that you have to suffer through and walk around outside the track. I don't know what there's a term for them. I don't know what it is. I don't recall what it is, but
I mean,
I assume maybe.
Hey, no. No, what I was gonna say is maybe the Playboy livery suggests the Hooters theory isn't that far off, as that pit stop is coming up on 50 minutes now. But 21.3 seconds, a little bit more reasonable for Corbin McCauley coming around on that pit stop.
You didn't take that as an insult when I said that, did you?
No. All
right. Good to know.
No, you're good.
All right. Cool. Trying to think of other things to talk about, but nothing's coming to mind. Nothing's coming to mind now.
No, I know, but that's the problem with this format. Like, that's the drawback.
Yeah.
Especially with, a smaller field, there's not nearly as much to, like, there's no battles.
Okay. Alrighty then.
Yeah.
Considering you've been here since the start, maybe I should start asking some questions about maybe some of your about your time here with the network. The first question I'll ask then is.
So wait, are we muted or are we?
No, we're still
live?
going.
Okay.
Gotta keep
I
talking
wasn't
somehow.
sure.
We gotta keep talking somehow.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure there. We should probably make that clear.
Oh, yeah, I'll blame myself on that one. All good, but I'll ask. You got any ideas?
For questions to ask me.
Just anything from your time that you ever want to talk about, like memories, goofy moments, anything like that, of any realm. Maybe something to do with the drivers in the field.
Oh man, goofy memories. I gotta there's, especially from the first 2 seasons, there are entirely too many of those.
Yeah.
Because we were like, for a little bit of a production background, of course, our first 2 seasons were streamed on Facebook as opposed to YouTube, so definitely a different platform that we were working with at that point. I think, well, that first year was definitely difficult, just kind of riding solo on that. Yeah, definitely, as you've sort of experienced it a little bit, it's hard to, just talk to walls, even though sometimes you get better answers from the walls than you do from a color commentator. But yeah, that first season was interesting. It was also full of technical glitches as well, because we just couldn't get the streaming computer right for whatever reason on that. And then, yeah, season 2 went, a fair bit smoother once we made the switch to OBS as our encoder from Wirecast, because we figured that was, more of a resource hog, so to speak. So things definitely got smoother once we had that realization. And yeah, season 2, that was with Mark Cox in the booth. That was a fun time as well, just kind of experimenting with green screens in our little makeshift classroom / studio setting that we had to call everything. And I remember just how friggin' hot that room was as well, with 2 consoles, 2 PS4s, a computer, a projector going, and the camera that we had for our kind of on-camera intros, so to speak. So yeah, there was a lot of production elements involved in that. The All-Star race that goes down as one of the funniest scenarios I have ever been a part of in this network. I won't repeat it just to spare Mark a little bit, but go back to, if you go back to that All-Star race, you will hear, just after the anthems, we talk about just how excited we are. And Mark, yeah, he let everybody know, and we could not stop laughing for about 3 or 4 minutes. So if you want to go for bloopers, yeah, that's probably the closest. Well, no, that's definitely the best we've gotten. And I mean, certainly we've made our fair share of off-color jokes here over the last, season and a half that we've been working together here as well. But certainly,
all weekend long, and I know this weekend
somewhat it was along those lines. We'll put it that way.
Formula 1 season
for that particular incident. But I mean, the one thing I keep coming back to is, the overall experience, whether it's been, the NASCAR series or the Formula 1 series, is, just the camaraderie within the, not just the kind of core group that's been around since, close to the beginning, but, really from top to bottom, it feels like, it's been a decent group of guys to get to know over the last few years. And again, the fact that this started as effectively an escape at the onset of COVID, it was, we weren't sure what we were going to do with it. We weren't sure if it was just going to be a one-time thing or what the kind of proposition was going to be there. But yeah, we kind of stuck it out and, kind of made a nice little something out of this here. And obviously with, production responsibilities shifting from me to you moving from the heat side to the iRacing side, that's just kind of added, a little bit more production value there as well. And yeah, it's good to, it's been an adjustment, certainly getting used to the color side of things, so to speak. But, just being able to kind of remember all the stuff that, we've done over the last 3 years. I imagine we're probably in the triple digits for total races. I don't know the actual number right offhand, but we'd certainly have to be in that ballpark somewhere. And, it's been, enjoyable every time as we bring it back to the track. It looks like Andy Hurdle in.
Indeed he is, and I keep looking at Wolford's number. But yeah, that would be Andy Hurdle on pit road with almost a half hour remaining in this race.
Well, I tried to talk it out.
Oh yeah, you definitely poured your heart out there. So you say in this all-star race, when exactly was the blooper?
So as I say, it's not long after the anthems, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
And yeah, that was another scenario where, we were at a place, it was the Indy Road course specifically that year. So not unlike this year's concept or what we're doing right now with Daytona, where, traditionally a NASCAR track or traditionally a bigger series track, of course, Indy, you think of IndyCar and Indy 500 first. But yeah, we tried something a little bit different doing the Indy Road course. And yeah, that was it was an all-time classic. So yeah, if you look at like about the 2045 mark is where that's going to come up.
2045?
20 minutes 45 seconds, yeah.
Okay.
And you may want monitoring in as opposed to it going live. We'll just
I
put
think
it that way.
I think I probably have to mute you if I wanted to listen. So
Hey, that lets me take a drink, so go ahead.
I'll quickly hang on though, because Michael Langley actually just went down pit road with a 22 second pit stop time right there. So it took me way too long to get off that right there. But Scott Bailey is now going to be 7 seconds behind Langley there in second place. Macaulay 20 seconds behind now. The leader.
So
Hurdle's 46. Huh?
I was going to say Langley getting to the point with where he had a pit stop in hand effectively. That kind of tells you how the race has gone, especially over the last half hour, as he's just kept extending it out.
Indeed so, and I'm just going to keep going back to this because it's just going to keep going and going. I wonder what the record is, honestly.
Yeah, this is like the Energizer Bunny of pit stops.
Basically. And I am right at the 2044 mark, so I'll let you take a drink of water right now, and I'll see if I can hear this.
Perfect.
I think I am now traumatized from that.
Yeah, I did not let him off the hook for that.
That was definitely not what I was expecting.
Yeah, that's, as I said, that's an all-timer there, so.
Yeah.
MC, love you, buddy.
Audience, we will leave it at that. We will leave it at that. Because if we repeat that, then I think I am going to be done with the network. So.
I mean.
Okay. To be fair, that is Mark's version. My version was claiming that my brother was under the influence, but what I meant to say was he's under the weather.
Yeah, fair. But I mean, again, you can kind of get away with that because, yeah, that's family. It's a little bit different if I say something like that.
I guess fair enough, but no, whenever I still think back to that, I think I even remember the reaction I heard from the other side of my wall here, because he's literally right there. So I mean, man. I guess you could argue maybe it's the same thing, because you know your body's quote unquote out of it, but again, well, yeah, just no.
Yeah, how'd that debrief go?
No comment.
Yeah. That's the correct answer.
Yeah. Was that the only shenanigan with Mark?
I mean, it certainly doesn't.
Mark,
like,
if you're watching, we sincerely apologize, but we also don't.
No. Like, MC knows I love him, so no. No, as I say, nothing nearly got to that level. Like, there were definitely scenarios where, you know, both of us like would kind of get lost in trains of thought and, you know, just kind of go off the rails, so to speak. Me in season 1, like, if you ask my race control, shout out to my good buddy Mason Murray on that as well, he was kind of my Discord ears for that season 1, and so he was in the office/studio with me for a majority of those races, and he would hear me like absolutely spin some tales trying to figure out how to, you know, describe something without it kind of sounding the same all the time. And yeah, there were some rabbit holes we went down. I'd have to go back and figure out like which ones were the best, but yeah, there were some good ones.
Interesting to know. Well, I mean, again, even too, like, it's not just the influence thing either. Quite literally, my first race, I somehow get the wrong driver for winning. I don't know I don't know how I screwed that up. It's fun, and it's funny too, because like I got that wrong, and then you fix me. I realize it, but then I keep a smile on my face because I want to look like I don't care. And I'm smiling as we conclude the broadcast, and then as soon as it ends, I just throw my headset off, and I'm like, how did I manage that? I put my hands in my face and everything.
Well, that's what you do whenever you're live. You just kind of grin and bear it whenever something like that happens. Like, God knows, enough of those things happen over the years. Just ask the now former Oakland A's play-by-play announcer, Scott Bailey's in pit lane.
Indeed he is. Again, we're under a half hour remaining in this race. If I actually look at the
Take two.
Telemetry? Telemetry? Oh, telemetry.
I think it's telemetry, yeah.
Yeah.
The data.
Okay. This is definitely a better situation than those rigs or videos I did where I said Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh.
I'm not afraid to admit that I had that pronunciation in like 2 or 3 videos, and there are still people that hold a grudge against me for that one.
I mean, that's memeable right there, is what that is.
Oh yeah, no, it's a proud one too, because like I tend to suck at pronouncing names. Like even with I know with like the Super Late Model series, there were 2 or 3 names that I had. I was doing a season preview video, and there were 2 or 3 names that I got like completely wrong, and I had to. And even though the video was already kind of done, it wasn't published, but it was done. And then I went to one of the staff, and I went into a call with him to discuss pronunciations. And for some of them that I got wrong, I was just like, "Oh my goodness!" So I didn't want to continue the PTSD of saying Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Ugh. Jesus.
Speaking of circuit, Dylan Baum's just pulled off of the circuit again, and he's in pit lane as we continue on that view.
You always manage to find a way to transition like that. It's beautiful, man.
I mean, you gotta kind of figure stuff out. You just kind of call what you see, right? Especially when you're doing it remotely.
Yeah. I find it so fun, though, when it's so natural, like you don't expect it. It just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As again, a little bit of a reset here. It looks like what went on with Scott Bailey there to drop him to 4th, unless, you know, maybe there's another pit stop that needs to happen for
there.
Andy Hurdle.
There. Maybe. No, not too much, but something did happen there. He did.
That wouldn't have helped.
Yeah, that doesn't help at all. But he did have a pit stop, though. Yeah, he did. He was on the pit lane, so that definitely drops him back.
So maybe that plus cold tires. Maybe the grip isn't quite there on that outlap. Sent them a little wide.
I mean, yeah, it's fresh tires, so that's certainly going to be a factor there. But again, I was saying with telemetry right there, as what I was trying to say earlier before I changed the topic, it says lap 63 out of 79, so I'm surprised it actually does count that, though. So, I mean, through all the time that we've had here tonight, there is still a certain lap count along with the time that we have on the ticker.
Unless that's more or less a projection.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. But, I mean, I guess that's kind of nice to see, though, too. You kind of have that mixture. I mean, the ticker's got the time, but then you also have this, like, right on my telemetry right here, it mixes in between, like, the time and the lap thing. They're right beside each other, so that's actually, that's a pretty good thing to have there. Cool.
More than we ever had on Heat 4 and Heat 5.
I probably just ruined someone's ears right there, but
yeah,
thank God for limiters. Huh?
No, I'm kidding. Mine. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, 7:04 in motorsports. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Right back to this, though. 24 minutes remaining in this one. Good old number of my favorite all-time NASCAR driver, Jeff Gordon. Corbin McCauley 16 seconds behind Langley, who is going through turns 1 and 2 in the oval layout. McCauley now going to be approaching turn 6.
Yeah, kind of through that horseshoe section there just a moment ago.
Andy Hurdle back in 3rd now, 49 seconds behind. There's the lap car of Ryan Gibson right behind him. Only 1 lap down, but still in 6th place. Scott Bailey and Jared Ireland are actually in a pretty close proximity for 4th and 5th, respectively. And then, again, Gibson the lap down. Dylan Baum going through turn 6 here, 2 laps down. Michael Wolford still trying to achieve some form of a Guinness World Record.
Yeah, I've got nothing for that.
Yeah.
As we're, 23 minutes remaining.
Yeah,
again.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm now experiencing what you experienced all of last year, where your feed is coming into my computer as if it's like a potato shooting it. So, like,
Yeah,
I can
I'm
see
kind of getting
generally what's happening.
I'm kind of getting that from you too. That's been also kind of a situation I've had with the stickers and scuffs thing. Whenever I go back on their live streams to download them and then get them on into my own videos as kind of like highlights and stuff. That's the way we've been doing the race. That's the way I've been doing Pinty Series race reviews thus far this year. Yeah, my voice for some reason doesn't go through pretty well. It just sounds like a potato, like you said there. So I don't know what's up with that. But I mean, hey, at least we're getting them done. That's all that matters. And they're still, funny, personal, collaborative discussions, which is, again, that mindset I wanted to carry on because I remember being lonely in 2022, which, I mean, I do remember the views in 2022 being a lot larger. I mean, so far, the first 2 races of this year have not seen anything in comparison, but then again, though, I was pretty much gone from my channel for like 6 months or something like that to focus on college. So again, there are people that are going to go away and people that just, lose that commitment. Some people will somehow stay loyal, which I'm grateful for those that have obviously been loyal. And I'll shout out right now, go ahead and subscribe. We're close to 800 subscribers. I did say that earlier, but might as well go and check that out. That's like the 10 millionth advertisement I've done here tonight, but
you almost need like a lower third for that one.
Yeah, pretty much. What else was I gonna say there? Jared Ireland's now gonna go a lap down as he's on pit road. He'll come off with a 22.12. second time there. He remains in 5th. Bailey jumps up to 4th there. Hurdle's still in 3rd. McCauley remains 15 seconds behind Langley, who still remains on a massive advantage there in the lead with almost 20 minutes to go in the 2 Hours of Daytona GT3 race for this Canadian E-Motorsports Network Special Events League, the first running for the 2023 season. Yes, that's what I was going to ask you about, Jordy. Considering when this comes to an end, we'll be looking... Actually, maybe I should say that for the end. Talking about Michigan.
Yeah, save that for
Yeah, we'll save that for later. That's good thinking there from my end. I caught myself.
Yeah, one thing we can pivot to, again, we were talking about, the fact that I'm effectively watching this from a potato, but,
oh, yeah.
the fact that we're even able to do this, like, it
Yes.
speaks to, the evolution and the innovation, really, of the network here as well, because, yeah, there are... lots of leagues that kind of operate with remote broadcasts and things of that nature. But again, to be able to kind of maintain a chemistry throughout as well, like there's something to be said for that, because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, again, too, like... I mean, what we had going on last year between NASCAR and Formula One, I came along and, we were sitting in a college office on a PlayStation looking at, there was that one monitor for the racing, and then we had that other one for OBS, and we had that going for a couple of races. And then, of course, you moved to Alberta, so we had to do a thing where you would broadcast from over there, and I was still stuck here. And the software that we use, you ended up using, you created a room and all that for us to operate from, but then I had to watch... a potato from my end for a while, and then whenever we got to Formula One, it was kind of the same thing. And unfortunately, we got into a situation where crossplay would have been possible, but it just wasn't. I think we tried some like test race or something of it there, but then it just didn't work out because of EA Sports having issues as per usual. Although F1 23 does look a tad promising, but yeah, just. We had those difficulties there, and there were even times where I couldn't even come on to color commentating. It was just so difficult. But now that we've this year transitioned onto the iRacing service, and me just having a lot more, I guess, equipment advantage and more technical advantage from this side of the country versus where you're at, it's definitely helped to enhance our broadcasts and make them have a more professional look. And you've still been able to. Witness this. I would assume the quality in the software, the quality of the OBS virtual camera is decent, because again, you have been able to see what's happened. You've been able to read what the ticker says and all that. So I would assume it's definitely better than what we've ever had. Like, it's definitely than whenever you had to operate from your end, and maybe there was a little bit of a disadvantage from the equipment that you had. So, and like just. What was it, like the Wi-Fi or something not really working well, I think?
So at first I would say that was probably the case because, yeah, like I was in a downstairs apartment at that point. So yeah, the connection wasn't nearly as strong. I didn't have access to do anything wired the way I do now. And even then, like I've got kind of an office setup, which is a little bit away from where the PlayStation was. I don't know if it would have made a huge difference anyway, but that's all in the past now. And again, the transition's been completed here, and we talk about software deficiencies. Like, I mean, I think now that we're on this side, I think we can safely say that Heat 5 was probably the biggest software deficiency of them all.
Yeah.
And well, that presents a bit of an over-under here for you, or kind of a pick'em, so to speak. So which will happen first? Will the ongoing Wolford pit stop end first, or will the Heat Series finally get an online leaderboard?
I don't think you should get your hopes up for either. But yeah, again though too, like again for what we had at the time, like for what you had at the time before I came along, and then whenever I came along, and just what we had was all we got at the time, and that we had to be grateful that we had even had anything at all, and it's definitely a good thing. Like you said, it was originally kind of a 1-year thing that y'all had thought about with it. That was kind of the mindset there, but y'all decided to keep it going, keep putting in effort, keep contributing, and just keep consistent with it. And now it's gotten us here, of course, and of course we dealt with I would think it'd be the most technical difficulties we had back last year. Like that 2022 was pretty much a year of hell on that end. But then the way I think about it is, patience comes to those who wait. Like good things come to those who are patient, and this is pretty much the result. Like we got the iRacing service, we've got a bunch of the telemetry stuff that's been able to get provided from here. I have fantastic service here. The technology and the equipment that I have provides just it's all I guess I could use the term perfect. I mean, it hasn't always been. I mean, obviously, race 1 this season for NASCAR, I wasn't able to get you on, but it was all because I had my freaking output toggle at the muted end. All I had to do was just turn the thing, and I could have had you, but no. I realized that after race 1, and then ever since then, things have just been absolutely fantastic. And we're just, every race has been getting better and better, and we're having the special events thing, of course, not the largest field ever, but, it is what it is. And we're actually going to get back to this very quickly here as we're under 15 minutes remaining in the 2 Hours of Daytona GT3 race, as Andy Hurdle has taken over the second position over Corbin McCauley here. Michael Langley again leading. He just hit the start-finish line now. He's almost a minute ahead of Andy Hurdle, but yeah, a guy like Andy Hurdle, again, was, I think, as far back as 5th or 6th at one point, but now he's made his way up to 2nd, so some good stuff right there. Again, it's not for the lead, but again, 2nd's still pretty solid in this field, I can only imagine. McCauley, again, has gone through a lot of shenanigans in this one with with a couple spins, an outside wall hit, pit stops. He's remaining close behind Hurdle, so he still could very much hang on for 2nd. Meanwhile, there's Scott Bailey back here in turns 1 and 2 on the oval layout, where, again, he's kind of gone through some stuff as well. He did have the pace early on. I believe he was pretty much the MVP of the first half of this race, but now ever since, it just, second half hasn't really gone well for him.
Again, just the one lead change so far.
Yeah, exactly. And Jared Ireland, Ryan Gibson here again. They're in different places here on the track. 1 lap down. Dylan Baum still going at it. And now McCauley's going to take advantage of Andy Hurdle right here.
Yeah, we might want to go back and see that one.
We'll definitely do that. Okay, so they...
just power.
Yeah, you got the run on the outside. Come through the tri-oval. That's a photo finish if I've ever seen one right there at that line. But Hurdle Hurdle drops back. And he just lets McCauley take it.
Yeah, not really sure what happened there.
I think the broadcaster jinx might have happened maybe from like a lap earlier. And as we're actually seeing here on the ticker now, it's actually transferred to a lap thing. There's now 10 laps to go. There's 12 minutes remaining, so this projection, the lap projection thing or whatever it is, I believe might be, I don't know what to say from there, but it's pretty much self-explanatory right there. But Michael Langley just hit the line there for 9 laps to go as he continues to dominate with that 53-second lead. But McCauley drops back. Hurdle 2nd.
Kind of the opposite maybe of sometimes what you see with, Formula 1 races that get kind of delayed, whether it's rain or red flags or whatever, whenever they get to their 2-hour limits. It's kind of the reverse of that, where they'll give sort of a time instead of the laps down. Maybe this is the polar opposite, in that they would expect that 9 laps to be where they'd hit that 2 hours and 20-minute window or whatever you want to call it, and then just kind of finish that lap and be on your way from there. If I had to guess.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just Langley down the back straightaway. Hurdle Oh, they're turn 3 there again. I remember the point you made earlier, trying not to, be as repetitive and saying the same stuff over and over again, especially if you may not have the greatest knowledge on certain things when it comes to this racing. But then again, though, like for this kind of a thing, that's why we've really we've been really going for more personal talks here instead of really what's going on. But again, you can't really blame us whenever you have a field of 4 lead lap cars, and then there's 3 that are a lap down or a couple laps down. Then you got Michael Wolford again trying to complete a world record, which is now almost at 5,000 seconds.
Yeah, so that's over an hour and 20 minutes for reference, folks.
Thank you very much for the math right there, because my brain could absolutely not math that whatsoever. I don't understand even how I would need that in life, although it probably will hit me at some point. Good old public school math.
And they said you'd never use it.
Prove why this is a triangle. It's got 3 sides. No, solve. Oh, stop. Oh my goodness.
How long until this turns into a therapy session?
I wondered if Atlanta was going to be that for you.
I mean, I think I pretty well called it.
Yeah.
Going that way.
Well, again,
the 34 cautions from season 1, that is like a scarring memory. And we weren't far off, I don't think, last week.
How do you get 34 cautions at the old Atlanta layout?
That's a great question.
Do drivers just not good on old tires?
I mean, I'm sure there's probably an element of that. Not long after cautions disappeared. Not sure if there's a connection there. Spoiler, there absolutely was.
That one race alone.
Oh yeah.
Just creates that trend.
Yeah. So yeah, going back to like things from season 1 though, like ask any of the guys who were around in season 1 if you mention the name Bruce Webb to them. There's one specific incident that they will all remember. It was also the last thing he did in the series, so that basically tells you how that went.
For sure, and again, what I was going to bring up too when it comes to therapy sessions, we got Talladega, and we got 2 more races, and then there's Talladega.
True, but at the same time, well, I was about to say, it's been, like, I don't remember it being super incident-filled, but now I recall I don't think there's been cautions in any of those 3, so, uh-oh. Speaking of uh-oh...
Yeah, Macaulay just had, yeah. Oh, my.
Barry R. makes his presence felt again.
Yeah, now he's 2 laps down, so that's not good. Oh, he's trying to get the car going. And then he goes to pit road.
Well, the car went. So, technically mission accomplished, I guess? I don't know.
You can look at the chat.
I mean, at this point... Well, okay, so we've seen references to a certain Reddit incident where he's died even worse. So that, I think, is tame by comparison.
Well, there is another guy in the chat who pretty much experienced some form of that at Atlanta, and last week, and now we got the leader, Michael Langley, is going to head to pit road with 7 laps to go. He's going to hit 6 to go, though.
I mean, he's got over a minute lead. Why not?
And I take one look into the software we're using to communicate with each other, and you are upside down.
Yeah, that's why we're not on camera. I just noticed that too.
Oh, I could pull up the split screen camera right now. Pull up the graphic right now. Huh?
By the time you do that, I will have the rotation done. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, rotation should be done.
There we go. Yeah, we never really went for that graphic anyways because again, it's got the NASCAR logo in there and kind of showed up late there anyways. So
yeah.
And I believe by the looks of it, was Dylan Baum 2 laps down before that, or did he just get himself back on the lead lap?
I think he may have been 2 laps down.
Okay, I think so, because he still remains a
But
lap
still.
down. Okay, yeah, I saw a change there, but no. Ryan Gibson also remaining a lap down here. Langley almost over 50 seconds ahead of Scott Bailey. Andy Hurdle back in third. He was actually going to try and charge for Scott Bailey here with 6 laps remaining. Although time-wise, it's all about coming down to 5.5 minutes. So we could see some form of a battle here. It's a 2-second margin between these two drivers, but I mean, hey, we might as well get something here to talk about.
Well, by something, I would love if there was like a ramp for someone to drive into that kind of infield lake I thought I saw.
Repeat that again, sorry?
I was going to say, whenever Corbin had his spin there, was there like an infield lake that I was seeing in there? Thought I saw water in the background.
On the back straightaway, yeah.
I'd love to see someone launch off a ramp into that if that was possible. That would be something to talk about.
In real life, like, I think it was back in like the 80s or in the 90s, there was one car that had that happen at was it Daytona? Was it Talladega? I don't remember. I don't know. But yeah, that did happen. So trouble for Jared Ireland. He's in the front stretch grass. He'll try to come back up on the track and straighten it out.
The old unintentional pit stop, effectively.
He's going to keep it. Does he have a broken... It would be a suspension totally?
Yeah, he disappeared. Let's see if we can find the basis of this.
All right, here we go. Coming off of turn 4 of the oval layout. I don't know how to explain that one.
I was going to say, is that like a... I know Heat had a Daytona track glitch. Would Ireland have been afflicted by the same thing in iRacing?
See the onboard if that shows anything.
I mean, it's just like he hits a spot and he goes sideways. Like, the hands are pretty steady, it has to be said.
A shifting issue, maybe?
That's strange.
That's a strange one. Well, I mean, hey, I guess we're talking about stuff at the end of this one. So
yeah, careful what you wish for, I guess.
Exactly. You know, things seem to be going pretty smooth. No biggie, you know. Oh, no. But
you'd think we would have learned from NASCAR, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Atlanta was definitely an example that we literally got a wreck on the first. We didn't even complete a lap, and they wrecked in turn 3. So, I mean,
yeah,
that explains something there. And I believe Scott Bailey, during that time, I get the ticker back on. Scott Bailey looks as though during that time he just advanced his way up to second over Andy Hurdle.
Yeah, so I wonder if there was, like, I don't remember it being super close prior to that, so I wonder if maybe Hurdle got loose somewhere.
Well,
toward the end,
I try to go back on the replay there somehow, and yeah, I wasn't getting anything, so maybe we missed something completely like a while back. But anyways, if I look back to this, Dylan Baum's now in. We now have 3 cars on the lead lap. Ryan Gibson in 4th there, 1 lap down. There's Dylan Baum in 5th. Jared Ireland on pit road in 6th, 2 laps down. Corbin McCauley actually back on pit road?
Well, I wonder if he may have just ended his night there. Because 5 laps down now.
I could have sworn I thought I saw him on the track there. Unless maybe I was on a different car there, maybe, but I don't know. We'll continue on. And how's Wolfer doing?
Give it 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's an hour and a half pit stop, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. But again, back to this. Again, it's almost a minute advantage over Bailey as Michael Langley continues to be the second half dominator of this 2 Hours of Daytona race.
Well, yeah, it was effectively right after Bailey made that one mistake. Langley has not looked back.
Yeah, and he's going to be coming to 3 laps to go here, coming off of turn 4 for the oval layout.
Yeah, and like it seems like he's the one guy who hasn't really been affected by anything. He's the guy who's just kind of kept it consistent all the way through. Never really had to, there were a couple of overtakes, but it never felt like he was pressing, so to speak. And it felt like when, other drivers were spinning or making contact, he was the guy who just kind of kept it clean. And you see the end result of it here. Theoretically, he could probably pit yet again if he really wanted to and still come out somewhere close to the lead. Assuming that says 51.
If you want some very quick off-topic news, it sounds like Toronto is expected to sign Brad Trivling as your next general manager.
Yeah, I saw that, and as a guy who's now living, a little bit north of Calgary, I'll be interested to see the perspective on that particular move.
Oh, yeah.
As, the Leafs were famous for Roger Nielsen putting up a white towel on a stick, but we're now on the white flag here, final lap tonight.
Actually, yeah, now I see McCauley back on the track 4 laps down, but yes, that is going to be the white flag. No time remaining for Michael Langley as he'll come through the bus stop in his number 39 NBR Motorsports.
Mercedes.
Yeah, Mercedes.
AMG, thank you.
My brain did not mind there. So, here for the first event of the Canadian Motorsports Network special events season, the 2 Hours of Daytona GT3 race, coming off of turn 4 for the oval layout, and through the tri-oval, this race is complete. Michael Langley, the number 39 NBR Motorsports Mercedes, is going to take the checkered flag and become the first winner of this special events season. So how about that for Langley, who, again, I guess you could say in a way he's a new face here to the network, I guess driving-wise, but again, he's been here for a while, as you said, in terms of support, especially for NBR.
Absolutely, and I mean, again, interesting to see the new name here, and that was just, once he got into the lead, it was absolutely clinical for Michael Langley, it has to be said. Like, the results ultimately speak for themselves, as we're still waiting for second place Scott Bailey to come through here with Andy Hurdle not too far behind. And actually, I think they're still going down that back straightaway, are they not?
Well, yeah, Scott Bailey's going to take the checker flag, and so will Andy Hurdle, so that will wrap up your podium for the 2 Hours of Daytona race. So Langley, Bailey, and Hurdle will be your podium. Ryan Gibson's now going to be coming off of final corner there, and he will take the checker flag 1 lap down to finish 4th. Dylan Baum's still coming down the back straight away. He will be getting through the bus stop here. Jared Ireland just got out of the race right there. Corbin McCauley will be coming off the final corner now 4 laps down. So he'll be taking the checker flag with what looks to be 7th. And now he'll likely be the final finishing car. I know Ireland just disconnected, but I guess we'll still count him anyways. So McCauley will take home 7th, and Michael Wolford, even though this car's still in the pit lane and he's still doing.
Oh, the time stopped.
The time stopped. If you want to take your screenshot or you want to get a photo of this, then might as well. So there's your official final time for Michael Wolford. That's a milestone, I would say, if that's a way to put it. And then there's Jason Butler, 76 laps down. That's ugh.
Again, the unfortunate disconnection there for the 10 right away. Or, no, it was a DQ, he called it. A weird DQ. That was it.
Yeah, a weird DQ, yeah. And Langley was just doing a little bit of celebrating right there, and he still is. So, again, Scott Bailey, Corbin McCauley were going out early, and Bailey ended up being... Oh, and there's Scott Bailey trying to get involved. Just for the heck of it.
I would say he just did that to take the let's take a cleaner turn. He was having a little fun with Michael Langley there, because again, those two are buddies for sure. They run in multiple leagues together, so not a huge surprise as McCauley just, those pylons just didn't matter anyway. They had a family.
Yeah, maybe he'll go and join Bailey there as Dylan Baum is stuck in his pit stall right now. Maybe he'll go and join Bailey as he'll be coming off the final corners here on the oval layout. I've said those two words way too many times in the past couple of laps here.
With all the pylons, I thought you said he was about to join the Toronto Maple Leafs. Which hurts me to think as much as it would hurt him.
Yep. Oh, you missed the opening. Victory lane's there, buddy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, instead finds himself on Skid Row.
But yeah, again, I would say that pretty much is going to do it for this one. If we toggle the unofficial results, yeah, we don't have a face for Langley, of course, because reasons. But these are your unofficial results for, I guess we could call it the Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue 2 Hours of Daytona GT3 race. I literally could have called it that the whole time, but I am not loyal. I'm not loyal to sponsors, apparently, even though I mention them a lot and even made my own advertisements. But anyways, Michael Langley in the number 39 MBR Motorsports Mercedes takes the checker flag in first place, so a very solid start to his, I guess we can call it special events league career. Scott Bailey in the number 88 is going to take second place. I mean, 53.8 seconds back, but I mean, hey, seconds better than last or whatever, and whatever those cars at the bottom of the order had to deal with in this race. Andy Hurdle comes home with a solid third place finish. Sorry, I read the car number there. Yep. Third place in the number. Third place in the 7. And that will do it for the lead lap cars. Again, only the podium on the lead lap. Ryan Gibson's number 23 will score 4th. Rounding at the top 5 will be the number 3 of Dylan Baum. And there's 2 rookies in a row for Season 4 of the NASCAR Series. Jared Ireland claiming 6th. Cora McCauley in the number 17 showed some speed pretty early, but then started to experience a couple of misfortunes throughout the running. He'll come home 7th with 4 laps down. Michael Wolford will claim 8th place, 52 laps down with, I could only imagine it might be a Guinness World Record for the longest pit stop ever. And Jason Butler's
the pit crew got drunk.
Yeah, or that too. And he's probably down at the Hooters having a fun time. We'll leave it at that. And then Jason Butler's number 10 will round out the field here in 9th place, 77 laps down. An unfortunate, or as you put it, a weird DQ. So that officially does it for these unofficial results. And usually I'm supposed to actually give you the second half of the order, but I guess what we'll actually do is, just to come to an end with this, what were your overall thoughts on this race, Jordy?
So, again, different experiment for us, definitely good for us to branch out. Of course, with a limited field, there was always a little bit of a threat that things were going to spread out, as they evidently did. So, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword, so to speak, but I think still an enjoyable experience, something that, would be... It shows that we're still willing to, evolve and push forward. And right now, I think it'd be fine to stick that in the special events category. Maybe think a little bit further before expanding upon it. But, for a first time, it was still, a good experience overall, I think. But after this week, I think it's probably fair to say we'll be ready to get back to the NASCAR side of things.
And speaking of that, too, I guess we might as well check out the NASCAR schedule, because I don't have a graphic yet for Michigan just yet. But now, I was originally going to say this around the half-hour mark or so, but we decided to save it to the end because it makes much more sense. But when it comes to the NASCAR schedule for Season 4, like you said, we will be right back to NASCAR points action next week on, let me check my dates correctly here. Yeah, it'll be June 6th, Tuesday, June 6th. Regular season race 7 there of 13, round 7 of 20 for the whole season. It'll be a 100-lap race, 24, 34, 42 for the stages. So we're right back at it on another intermediate track once more. Will be at 2 intermediates, including that and Charlotte, and then we'll be right back at the Super Speedway Talladega. But Jordy, we'll be heading to Michigan here. What are your overall thoughts as we continue Season 4 here? We're 6 rounds in, and again, we're coming off of seeing Matthew Patek, a long time coming, as his first career victory, and he'll be looking to carry that momentum into Michigan. And again, he's been carrying a lot of momentum from, again, being previously, I guess, considered an underdog in based on history, but now it actually seems like he could be a true contender for the title.
I mean, there's a lot of weight that comes off with the fact that the playoff spot is now clinched for the 21. I'm sure there's a lot of folks who would love to be in that category as well. 7 races to, or no, 8 races, I guess, counting tomorrow still to do. No, it is 7. I can't math either. Yeah, so this is round 7 of 13 in the regular season. So effectively a halfway point, I guess you could say. And yeah, this is where, Michigan, you talked about it being fast earlier. I think this will be kind of a turning point in terms of, maybe you start to see guys taking a few more chances, especially guys who are out of the top 16 right now, because even though, there's still a few weeks left to go there, I think there's, I think this is where the urgency starts to pick up. So I think Michigan is going to be a very eventful venue here for us in season 4.
Indeed, so we are really getting to that pivotal point of the season where we are practically halfway. We're going to be halfway through the regular season. The trend that we'll be getting on. We're going to be at Michigan, Charlotte, Talladega, Kansas, North Wilkesboro, Texas, and Daytona for this second half of, or I guess Charlotte would start the second half. But anyways, we'll be heading to that form of a pattern for the second half of the regular season here for the 2020, for the season 4 of the NASCAR series. So again, we will for sure be starting to see more drivers take chances. We might see other drivers again to try to join Matthew Patek in winning instead of guys, like Justin Belmonte and Corbin McCauley. And I would say looking at the standings, if only I had them right here. Come on, I gotta get to them here. If I'm looking at the standings, like guys I would be paying attention to would be guys like, again, Scott Bailey we saw there finishing second in the I almost said 24 hours, 2 hours at Daytona race here. I mean, again, in 6 starts, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s. He's had the pace there and he's come close many times, including a second place back at Chicagoland. Almost had the victory, but fell short to Corbin McCauley there. I mean, he's been on a run of multiple top 5s and it's been all top 10s ever since race 2. He's on that 5-race top 10 streak, which includes top 5 3 times and podium twice, so he'll definitely be looking to get something done there. And then I see another guy like rookie Kyle Knoll with 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s, who, again, a guy who got 2 third-place finishes in a row at Homestead and Chicagoland, and then he finished 7th at Atlanta. He's able to survive the chaos and come home with a solid finish. Defending series champion Ty Higginbottom has slowly been climbing the standings there, only 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s, but he's been able to stay at least consistent, which is all that matters with him. Still well up there in the playoff picture and also, I guess, in the contending picture as well. But, I mean, again, though, like, Corbin McCauley, again, 65 points above Scott Bailey. Again, even though he did have that 8th place finish at Atlanta, he still won both of those first 2 stages, and he ironically managed to extend his points lead because he still managed to get the most points out of anyone in Atlanta. So again, though, it could be McCauley just getting right back at it because, again, it was just kind of that one super speedway that we broke off after the intermediates, and we're going right back to that for the next 2 races. So again, it just could be McCauley once again stealing the show, but at the same time, though, that momentum with Matthew Patek, we could definitely see the headlines take a little bit of a change, perhaps.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well there. Yeah, definitely. I expect Michigan to be fairly wide open, so to speak.
Yeah.
Again, we've had, a history with, a couple of close finishes there, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that crop up here at the end again this year, especially. I'm not sure if we've had a race with cautions at Michigan, so that'll obviously throw a bit of a different wrench into things as well. But yeah, I think with the kind of depth of field that we've spoken about throughout the season, and yeah, just the nature of how Michigan operates, I'd again expect it to be an eventful, intense fight for the win.
Indeed, it's going to be all about, those wide corners, long straightaways, fast drafting speeds. We're definitely going to see some wild restarts, and pit strategies will start to come back into play, especially if we get long green flag windows. So, with all that being said, that will do it for tonight's live production of Canadian Motorsports Network action, our first event of the special event season, the 2 Hours of Daytona GT3 race, sponsored by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. I can't believe how many times I forgot to possibly shout them out, maybe in even the race title. But anyways, we'd like to thank you all very much for tuning into this live production. Again, this is main play-by-play and broadcaster Regan McCauley here, Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. On the other side of the country, color commentator Jordy Carraher, been here since the very beginning, of course. Jordy, thank you once again for coming in and providing your integral and educational insight and information for all of us as per usual. And of course, we will all see you next week for the Wing Snob 200 at Michigan International Speedway on Tuesday, June 6th. So stay tuned whenever we get there next week. And see you then. Have a good one. Take care as well, Jordy.